and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy episode 333 for the week of November 21st, 2017. My name is Ryan Higgins. We have a whole bunch of people with us and more people on the way. You know, it's a movie review episode. But we got some other stuff to talk about first. Who's here on the left?
Brock Sager.
Why don't you talk slightly louder, everyone?
Brock Sager.
There you go.
Scott Shea.
Scott, you're back.
A man who expects more from movies, Bryce Larsen.
Kevin Sharp, happy to support Bryce.
No.
And Charlie.
Now, hopefully, we're going to have to keep the moving of the microphone to a minimal because we are a couple mics short from everyone. But I don't know, you guys figure it out.
I keep telling that Ryan Scott guy to buy a couple more mics.
Yeah, we need a couple more mics, but we weren't expecting to have like 8 people on the podcast tonight, so we'll make it work.
Dude, the crosstalk is going to be epic.
This was going to be a Justice League episode because obviously Justice League movie came out, so we were going to talk about that. However, Marvel decided to drop another bombshell on us, and while we're waiting for a few more people to show up, we should talk about one of the biggest news stories that have happened during the ever recording of this podcast in the 7 years or so that we've been recording this. About 7? No, 6 years?
6.
I feel like it was 2 episodes ago you said this about something else.
Right, because these are two of the biggest news stories that have happened during our entire podcast history here. So I didn't want to go a week without talking about this. Axel Alonso, or Alex Alonso, as he's better known as, if you listen to this podcast, Axel Alonso, the editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics, has been separated from Marvel in a very cordial way that in no way, shape, or form was him getting fired. No, Axel Alonso was fired from Marvel Comics. The editor-in-chief was fired on Thursday, replaced Friday by C.B. Cebulski, longtime international brand manager for Marvel and editor and occasional writer of comics, but very, very little. This is, again, much like Bendis leaving, this is huge news. You don't fire the editor-in-chief one day and have a new editor-in-chief the next day who is... I'm not too worried about Cebulski long-term. I think this is a filler guy because, well, I have nothing against the guy on a personal level. He's just not... He's an international brand manager. He's not a editor-in-chief. He's not a current editor at Marvel Comics. This seems like a weird move. Cebulski's role was bringing, in more recent years, bringing Marvel Comics to Asia, so China, Japan, South Korea, getting them set up on their apps. But he doesn't, to the best of my knowledge, doesn't deal in a lot of doesn't deal in the creative end at all.
He used to.
He used to be responsible for bringing in creative talent.
I mean, he was credited for Runaways.
Yeah.
He was a low-level editor at Marvel who got shipped overseas to do brand management stuff and has been brought back in to be editor-in-chief. That just means they don't have anyone else to take this role. I don't know why Tom Brevoort didn't get the position, but I don't know. People hate him as much as they hate Alonso. So, but this is actually, all this aside, this is fantastic news. Where the Bendis thing leaving means this is a problem, this means people are actually doing something about it. So, Alonso out, that has to be huge for the people internal at Marvel. A new guy coming in, hopefully he can turn the ship around because obviously, he clearly had 1 month worth of sale of Legacy, and they were like, nope, you're done. Mm-hmm. Goodbye. There's no other question. There's no question that this is...
Well, because, I mean...
He had 1 month to turn it around.
Because didn't he start with AVX?
I mean, he was around prior to AVX, but AVX was sort of his first big thing.
Yeah.
But if you look at the last, AVX is 2012, right, I believe?
Yeah, sounds right.
If you look at the last couple of years, you have Secret Wars, which while the main series did good, if you remember, we had no regular Marvel Comics for the better part of 6 months because they were replaced with all those miniseries that damaged the brand horribly. Mm. Lots of delays. Lost Hickman, lost the creators, brought in all these new characters, which is cool. Okay, that's fine. But managed to completely kill off all the rest of the characters, lost a shitload more talent along the way. Civil War 2 did not perform like it should have. Yes, the first issue 2 did very well, and then sales plummeted, again, for what this should be. especially around the time of the Civil War movie and everything. And then, obviously, Secret Empire, less said about that, the better. Generations and now Legacy, both being,
Flops.
not living up to what they should have been. Oh, it's going to be a topic for this entire conversation, actually, or this entire podcast.
Flops.
A common
sounds about right.
A common occurrence. Not living up to the potential.
This is the Justice League episode, right? Yeah.
So yeah, thoughts. I mean, you guys down the end of the table, biggest Marvel boners of all, don't even know who Alex Alonso is, let alone Axel Alonso.
I'm not up on my Wizard. I haven't been reading my Wizard lately. So.
10 hot editors of October 20.
Exactly. I haven't seen
Axel
my hot
Alonso
list.
has fallen off the top 10 list.
I didn't realize that he was editor-in-chief. I thought that he was a very senior guy, but I didn't realize that he was editor-in-chief. And I do have to say that as much as I disagree with you about a lot of things, I appreciate you putting that into kind of like I was able to understand it in sort of soccer terms, where like it makes more sense to me that way.
Yeah,
where
they fired the head coach.
A manager comes in and he's given a shot, or he's given a couple years to do something, and the team craps the bed, and eventually they're like, all right, new season, a couple games in, he gets cut. So you put it that way, and I understand it much better, I think, now. So I appreciate that. I had no idea of the behind the scenes of this, other than him just crapping the bed. I guess successfully for the brand, but I would have thought that it was related to all these like sexual misconduct allegations that are coming thick and fast from everywhere.
I mean, maybe, but I don't think so.
Does this seem like an interim head coach kind of thing?
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't know, because I don't know. Look, I don't know a lot about these guys that come in, but I would have thought that until Higgins was saying otherwise. But Brock and Charlie lead me to believe that this guy like has an eye for talent, and like I even knew the name before, knew of this guy before. In my head's way in the sand, but I even knew of this guy years ago when he was trying to find good new talent. So I like to think that they trust the guy to find like good ideas.
Cebulski was the editor in the room when Vaughn walked in with Runaways. It's not like he went out and crafted the story with him, right?
Okay, I didn't realize you were in the room. That's helpful to know.
The room where it happens.
My overall feeling is he's interim until he has some success, in which case they'll probably move him permanent. Yeah. If he doesn't have some success, they'll probably bring in somebody else pretty quickly. I mean, it's just like writers in comics. Sometimes you bring in somebody who's only supposed to do an arc or two, and they end up...
fill-in editor-in-chief.
Or in soccer, where they give, like, there's this temporary time period where somebody has a chance to prove themselves over a couple months, and they either do or don't.
Yeah.
So, Ryan, when you're saying you think this is good news...
Yeah.
Is it good news that Alonso is gone, or is it good news the replacement that they chose, or both?
I mean, I don't know Cebulski's career well enough. I think it's good news that Alonso's gone. I think they needed something.
He's not...
Either way, they have new blood.
Yeah.
And new blood means new potential. So
because there is sort of a clean slate. The problem is, I think Brock brought this up beforehand, or Scott, someone was asking about this earlier before we started recording. They are still... We have 6 months of Alonso stuff still planned, right? I mean... X-Men Red, which just got announced, which looks like a shit show. Oh my god, Bryce, I'm so sorry.
No, I agree.
I'm waiting for the different colors of the rainbow teams at this point.
How do you
That's
screw
the fucking
up?
most ridiculous statement. You just had Green Lantern have tremendous success with that. Why would you shit on it before reading it?
How do you screw up Jean Grey's costume?
Yeah.
How do they?
That's your complaint with this?
Yeah, that's what. Well, I mean,
It's not that they're not bringing back hope. I want hope. I want more hope. No,
my biggest issue is you make such a big deal about bringing back the original Jean Grey, and then you make her unrecognizable immediately after.
No, I'm not.
I don't get it.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not defending X-Men Red.
It's so weird.
It is very weird.
So my hope is that these X-Men Red launches as a 5-issue miniseries, and they're just like, done, go away, please stop. Issue 2, she'll completely change her costume and just be back to normal. Like,
like Scarlet Spider.
Yeah, right. Oh, you remember that, right? That was crazy.
Yeah.
They had that costume. People were like, "What the fuck is this?" And then the next issue, they're like, "Never mind, back to normal. Just we're gonna pretend this never happened."
Oh, we'll bring that topic up later too.
Yeah, we will.
That's the new one.
Ryan, I was gonna.
Scott's looking at the Kid Jean Grey comic. Actually, again, Bryce disagrees with me on something. It's Marvel.
As many as maybe I would like.
You're going to have to read it, though, because it ties into that Phoenix miniseries coming out.
Well, then I will bite the bullet. And I will. But, yeah, I don't know. That Jean Grey miniseries I thought was terrible. I thought it was awful.
No, the upcoming one. The Phoenix Returns one.
No, but we're talking about the one that we disagree with.
That's ongoing.
Yeah, that's not
still ongoing.
Isn't it? Didn't we just agree that it's a miniseries as soon as Axel's out the door, that it's going to get cut short, and then all of a sudden it's a miniseries instead of ongoing?
Okay, sure. It's like a 14-issue miniseries.
Okay. Oh, is it going to get 14, not 12?
Oh, well, I mean, I think 13 is like the final part of the crossover, or maybe 12 is the final part that ties in with Phoenix. I don't know.
Scott just found the image and he's throwing up in his mouth.
It's even worse. I know.
Hey, at least Nightcrawler's there. I mean, that's cool. I like Nightcrawler. I recognize him.
Yeah.
This is good radio.
Yeah, I know.
I was gonna. I don't know. I wish I could remember who to credit for this statement. This is back in the time of that Len Wein thing I was talking about in that other episode, just with all of these pros. And somebody was talking about Marvel and DC in the 80s when Jim Shooter was the EIC at Marvel and Dick Giordano was at DC. And the two personalities were Shooter is like cracking the whip and has a death ray, and Dick Giordano is like the kindly old grandfather. So Shooter comes in when Marvel is kind of like adrift at sea, cracks the whip, gets everything in shape, like him or don't like him. Mm-hmm. He makes Marvel king.
Yeah.
And then the point is that this person was saying is that it wasn't Len, it was somebody else, was saying that the problem then was Shooter kept cracking the whip.
Right.
He got it fixed and then kept trying to fix it. And that the best thing, in this person's opinion, was that Giordano and Shooter would switch jobs like every 3 years. Like when you needed somebody to come in with the death ray, and then you needed the kindly old grandfather to kind of babysit what's running well.
Yeah.
That was the ideal in this person's opinion.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because Marvel Editorial has a new advisor, and that's Joe Quesada. So as of October, again, this is not public knowledge, literally until I think an interview today. This is where I read this. It was on Newsarama. Quesada has stepped aside from Marvel Film, not entirely, but in a small manner, and has been working with Marvel Editorial. Maybe this was, I don't think he was involved with Legacy, because Legacy would have been a while ago. So if he's been there as of last month, they clearly had the numbers for Legacy and went, oh, no, you're done. This isn't happening. So Quesada could be the guy coming in to crack the whip, because obviously he was EIC for a number of years. Great success for Marvel. Same deal, right? There was some questions about the early days of Quesada. Who was the president? Who was his buddy that was a complete idiot that did that Marvel comic? And you know who I'm talking about, Charlie. He was like the complete moron of Marvel that like ruined everything Quesada was trying to do. Anyway, I can't remember. So my hope is, Cebulski is supposed to be like a super, super nice guy. Hopefully he can also crack that whip, but I'm assuming that's what Quesada's there
either
for.
way, if they got rid of Axel, there's going to be somebody who needs to sort of be there as an advisor for somebody new getting dropped into the deep end. I mean, it does not sound like this was a planned transition where you had time to sort of bring up your successor. This was you're out the door now. Who do we put in your chair?
Right. No, I mean we heard this first thing Friday morning, and it wasn't like, oh, Axel Alonso's going to leave and we're going to replace him. It's no. This was you clean your desk out Thursday afternoon at 5:00. He's coming in the morning. He's still Cebulski still lives in, I believe he lives in China, and he's transferring back to America. So that's how fucking severe this was. So.
Yeah, it does seem very sudden. And I'm also, I guess, surprised if, like, somebody high enough up must have had this in, like, on their top of mind. It's interesting that they didn't, start interviewing or and maybe they have, but it does seem very, very sudden without a backup plan.
The first month of, we talked about this when we did the sales chart stuff. The first month of Legacy, Without all the lenticular covers, all the variant covers, all the special stuff. Although they shipped fewer comics, them and DC shipped just about the same. Clearly, Marvel does a lot more variant covers and special stuff. They were within, I think, 2% or 3% unit-wise for the top 300 comics sold. And while this was a big month for DC with Metal and the one-shots, I mean, that was it, right? I mean, there wasn't like 12 other things going on at DC at the same time. So,
well, DC dominated the top 10, while Marvel only dominated the like 11 to 20.
11 to 20 was mostly Marvel for all the first issues. But
it basically just took the chunk that they had down in the lower numbers and shifted it up for 1 month.
But if you look at those second numbers, Amazing Spider-Man, Deadpool, they were just right back to where they were before, right? So I think that's the problem. And so there's a very real possibility that DC beats Marvel in unit sales in November. Doomsday Clock alone may bring them up that % or two.
Yeah.
And Marvel's not going to have. I mean, like, you know, our numbers drop drastically for Legacy. So there's a real chance DC beats Marvel just straight up in November, which doesn't happen often. And, you know, more like certain movies I can think of that make $900 million at the box office but are still considered a failure. You know, Marvel is still the king, right? They're still the number one company, but they've always, you know, even in the recent days, they've been 5 to 10% ahead of 5 or 10 points ahead of DC in the market. And when they're like dead even with them, with their best foot forward, that's going to be fucking frightening. So, yeah, clearly Legacy.
But for all the podcast joking and stuff like that, as a comic shop owner,
it's great.
Isn't it in your interest to have Marvel and DC both on fire? Like every book, great.
It never happens.
Right.
Marvel's on fire, DC's in the toilet. DC's on fire, Marvel's in the toilet. It's the fucking weirdest thing, and I don't know what does it. So my fear here is, right, that we have DC Age of Heroes, they do way more miniseries. Suddenly, they heats off Rebirth, and DC starts floundering, right? While Marvel's like, oh, reverse course, everything's back, everything's awesome again. I fully expect this is going to happen. 2018 may be kind of a learning for both of them, but 2019 could be all Marvel, and DC's in the fucking toilet again. This is the trajectory of how it normally happens.
They keep up their tradition of taking away Marvel talent, and so they're like, oh, Axel, you're free.
Well, he used to work at DC. I mean, he used to work at Vertigo in DC, so, I mean, they could throw him over to Vertigo. They could give him a little line to do something with. Maybe. I don't know. That'd be, I mean, they may not want to, right? But they could use it as a way to lure some of the talent that he does like at Marvel over to DC.
I mean, not to take it too much to the soccer thing, but like, yeah, these shit managers that are really not shit, but they have tremendous experience, even if they've never won a title. They get, you know, certain of them get new jobs all the time. So.
Yep.
I mean, he has the qualifications and the experience. Like,
7 years as ESC that's huge.
That's a little point on your resume.
Yeah, whether it's successful or not, right? I mean, and he was mostly successful. It's really only been the last 18 months to 2 years, right? Where it's sort of started to fall apart. So,
well, and going with the soccer analogy just briefly further, or any sport coach or manager, a lot of times gets fired when it's the players to blame.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
So in this case, is Alonso a scapegoat for mediocre talent in books, or because he's the man in charge and his fingerprints are on it, is he to blame?
I'm watching the Marvel creators for the last 5 years. The best ones are now gone.
Yeah. All the big names. Bendis was the big one. He was the last.
He was the final one.
That was the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, that was the last one in the line of creators that.
Well, because it was 1 week in between.
No, it was at least
two weeks. Okay. Yeah. Well, we can. Sure, like 12 days or something like that. Yeah.
So is that mediocre talent not mediocre? But is it your job as an editor? And is it your job, the editor-in-chief, to make sure that your talent is working?
I don't think the talent came to him and said, "Yeah, let's put you a Red Wolf and what the hell was the other
1872?
So much awfulness,
like all these random bullshit series.
What was the one with Elsa Bloodstone?
Monsters Unleashed. That's still going on.
Yeah, no. I'm not talking the Secret Empire stuff, but earlier, like Mosaic, and earlier this year, all
Slapstick
and Fool Killer, sure, all that stuff. Like That's coming from editorial to say, hey, we want to do this stuff, right? I mean...
Oh, my God.
So Bryce is just... He's forgotten it all.
Fucking solo.
I'm going to pull out my Free Comic Day stuff in May and be like, oh, my God, I forgot about all these books.
Because they're gone.
I got my 40 copies of Mosaic they sent me for free. Oh, shit. What am I going to do with this? Throw it in the garbage.
Oh, my God.
So,
Alex...
Axel,
Alonso. I mean, he's always not been the best editor-in-chief, at least, to the public, or at least to the retailers.
Well,
so that could also transfer over to...
What do you mean, like...
Just like his behavior, like, it's... What was that huge thing that happened, like, 8
You're talking about where they were blaming DC Rebirth for the fact people weren't ordering Marvel?
Yeah, that and like a couple other foot in the mouth.
There's that, and there's all the stuff from the retailer meeting earlier this year where they're... But a lot of that came from David Gabriel, who's their VP of sales.
Yeah. But again, but the thing is it partly...
VP of sales?
That he doesn't... Like, that's his personality, and is that... If that's his personality, did it transfer over to the creative talent? Because, I mean, under his watch, like, who did they lose? They lost Brubaker. They lost Hickman.
Yeah.
They lost Remender. Yep. They lost Lemire. They lost Bendis.
So,
I mean, dude, I totally take issue with the fact that, like, all these guys went on to be wildly more commercially successful for themselves at Image. Like,
yeah, but
is your argument that they all left because Marvel was so bad?
Well, Remender,
or is it that they wanted more money? Because
Remender was still doing doing Marvel and Image stuff at the same time.
Yeah, and he left Marvel and doubled down on his Image stuff
because he wasn't happy at Marvel.
Yeah, well, a lot of these guys, went to Image and then they went to Hollywood, right? I mean, Fraction went to Hollywood. Kelly Sue DeConnick.
Is that because they were all unhappy at Marvel, Higgins?
I mean, there was talk that Marvel had some issues, that it was a rough place to work, but I don't know. That might just be the marketplace, because in an indie
podcast,
in an indie market, you can do whatever you want, right? Marvel and DC, it's like, well, sorry, your book's not working. Throw you on to this other title, right? I mean, and if you're Hickman or if you're Brubaker, you're like, I don't have to fucking deal with this. I got Kill or Be Killed and Fatale and Westworld to worry about. I don't need the Marvel money. He's making way more money on that stuff than he is working at Marvel.
That's what I'm saying. Why?
So yeah, there's no reason to stick around. Yeah, whether Marvel's good or bad, a guy like Brubaker. I'm sorry, a guy like Bendis, and we talked about this in the Bendis episode, he was getting paid by, again, I don't know the inner specifics here, but you have to assume he was getting paid by Disney because he was doing more stuff. He was on that Marvel Advisory Council for the movies. That's not a free job. That's that's extra to your comic work, right?
Yeah.
To your freelance work. So when all that went away, all those guys went away that were working for Disney too. So
yeah, that's true.
We don't know.
People we've named were on that committee.
All of them were. Straczynski, J. Michael Straczynski, was on that list too because he worked on Thor. So yeah, when all that money dried up, they all took off because they could do it themselves, right? So, well, yeah. I mean, we'll have a lot more to say about this as it goes on, and we'll see what Cebulski does. And I honestly, bottom of my heart, I wish the guy luck. It needs it. Marvel needs to turn around. They need to do a bunch of stuff. So I really, really hopeful that they can turn this around and fix some of these mistakes from the last few years and get a good lineup. And more importantly, get some good creators back, because we've lost quite a few. So,
or at least work on finding some good ones.
Yeah, that's going to be his job. Image is going to be everyone at Image is going to be getting a phone call from Marvel in the next couple weeks. Come in January, they're going to be like, so. Now that your miniseries is over at Image, how'd you like to write the Darkhawk comic?
To dream.
Oh, man, there's a Darkhawk one-shot coming out by fucking Chris Sims, who I hate. Who's the X-Men 92 guy. Oh, terrible.
Oh, it is not.
It is, and
I was so excited about that one-shot.
No, I was like, well, can't buy this.
My excitement is now flowed out with the rest of the Marvel enema.
Yeah, I'm like, can't buy this. No, just can't do it.
Oh, what a bummer.
We'll see. Well, why don't we transition over to the main topic?
Is this where you're going to cut in some of the theme music?
Well, everyone,
okay. Or you could sing it.
Everyone strap in. Everyone, go use the bathroom. Well, we are 5 hours to midnight. So, yes, our Doomsday Clock midnight sale is happening in a bit, which is why this episode's up a little bit later than normal. We're going to podcast.
It's up tomorrow.
Well, it'll technically be up tomorrow, yes, but I'll put it up when I get in. We're going to be doing our midnight sale. So you've already missed the midnight sale for Doomsday Clock, but go out and enjoy it. Buy it. We'll talk about it next week. But yes, now it is time for Justice League.
Come together right now over me. Come together right now. Come together right now. Come together right now over me.
So now that you've all had a moment to prepare yourself, go use the bathroom, get some food, get some water.
We don't need to.
Craig, you got the dog ready. You're on the longest hike of all time. You got like a 4-hour hike ready.
It's a deep cut.
It's time to talk about some Justice League.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do this the way we've done a lot of
This
our.
isn't a Zack Snyder, so it's not that long.
Well, it's mostly Zack Snyder. But yes, I'm going to force this podcast to only be 2 hours long. No, we'll talk as long as we want.
So send us your questions if you haven't already.
We're going to do this the way we normally do these, and I'm still waiting on Toby
We
and
don't
Lane.
have a normal way to do these.
We're going to start. We're going to go around. We're going to give a brief little 2-minute talk. And then we'll, yes, Bryce, 2 minutes.
You can't use the word brief. You have to say summary.
And then, I didn't say brief at all. And then we'll just shoot the shit about everything.
If I could just throw a suggestion out,
Sure.
Maybe after you do the round table, everybody's overall thoughts, maybe, and you're the boss, divide it up by character.
Oh, yeah, no, right, yeah. Character, major plot summaries. I have a couple things I want the specific topics I want to ask everyone about. So, Brooke.
Fuck.
Let's do it. You're on this podcast.
What do you mean? You've known this was coming for like a week.
Yeah,
what
but
do you mean fuck? Like,
Start it. You started. Come
All
on,
right,
man. Get us
fine.
going.
All right, so I went in to Justice League expecting a Zack Snyder something, but apparently it's been reworked by Joss Whedon. So I've liked Joss Whedon's work in the past. So I was like, okay, there's more hope.
Pun intended.
Yes.
We know you weren't a big fan of Man of Steel or BVS.
Fuck no, I was not a big fan of Man of Steel. BVS.
You would actually, while we're doing this, let's actually remind everyone very briefly about what Man of Steel, BVS, no. Squad, Wonder Woman.
Man of Steel, no.
Thumbs up.
BVS, no. Extended cut, okay. I like Suicide Squad. Extended cut was much better. Wonder Woman was great.
Would you have liked Suicide Squad if Harley Quinn wasn't in it, Brock? I feel like that was the. I feel like fair play. I feel like that was the only thing that made you like that movie.
Who would you replace?
I mean, I'm just saying, you have a special relationship with Harley Quinn.
This is true.
If
it wasn't the best movie,
if it was literally anybody other than Harley Quinn, would you have liked that movie at all?
Depends on who they put in.
Okay.
I mean, yes, it's a higher rating because Harley's in it. But
So Justice League.
Justice League, yeah. So that was a fucking movie.
Should I set the stage? We were all there except for Scott.
No, stop.
9 p.m.
No.
Valco.
Somebody kill his mic.
Floors
Hey, I was already
clean.
there.
Yeah, Charlie had already seen it.
Floors clean. Air conditioning on.
No, you're taking away my joke.
Seats comfortable.
I had a whole thing about trolling your experience with Guardians too. I was gonna be the fucking Higgins. God forbid.
Brock, continue.
So there was this Justice League movie. We're never going to get started on this, apparently. The tone, color palette of the movie was far superior to Man of Steel or BVS. I overall enjoyed the movie for the most part, but I really feel that it still suffered from some of what I dislike about Zack Snyder's films. It was definitely cut down from a longer movie, which I think might have added more to it. Out of all of the Snyder DCU movies, this is the one I've liked the most, but I don't think it was epically great.
Do we want to do grade first or later?
So now,
Just to get it out of the way?
Yeah.
Sorry, Brock.
The C plus B minus.
Okay. Scott.
I did not see it with you guys.
Yeah,
I was out traveling, and
so there's no bias.
There's no bias. I actually came in and
how were the floors at your movie theater? Were they sticky?
Floors at the movie theaters were great. Reclining seats.
Was the AC
Did
on?
you have alcohol?
No booze.
Oh, okay.
So sober review.
That's why Bryce hates all the movies, because he's sober when he sees them.
But he doesn't hate all of the movies.
That's true. Scott 1, Higgins 0.
Oh, and Scott, the other movies, other DC universe, you're pretty positive, I think, on most of them.
So we talked about this yesterday. When you go see a Marvel movie, it's yes or no. When you go see a DC movie, it's yes, I liked,
but
blah 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 blah. But there's always I have to wait for the extended director's cut. I have to wait for the extra scenes. Can Toby cut it for me so I can see a better version of it?
There's a but. There's
always,
an asterisk.
So there's always a but. Now with those buts that go in, I generally like the feel of most of the movies and overlook a lot of the negative stuff. So when you read a suspect comic book storyline, you generally will fill in spots in your head and to make it make sense, correct?
Yeah.
So when I go in and see a lot of these movies, that's what I do. If you've got a creative enough mind and the premise is good enough and the characterizations are good enough, then you kind of fill out what you need to fill out, and I enjoy the films. So I did enjoy this one better than BVS, better than Suicide Squad. I have Man of Steel actually above those two. Sorry, Bryce. I know we're brothers, but
no, I forgive you.
So
nobody's perfect.
And then Wonder Woman obviously is a far superior movie to the other four. So, but I'd give it a B, solid B, maybe even a B plus. I enjoyed it. There's many pieces that I enjoyed in it. B, not a B plus. Sorry, I get excited about seeing big wide sweeping shots of Superman and Aquaman and all those guys. So
don't let your fans down, Bryce.
Was that Aquaman? Okay.
I'm an Aquaman fan.
Yeah, that's baffling to me that.
And I thought it was
wow. Okay, we'll get into that later.
It was better than a robot chicken characterization of Aquaman because that's usually what we're getting.
In all honesty, is anything really better than any robot chicken impersonation? I mean, I think that's sort of like the height of parody and awesomeness.
Yeah, but it unfortunately that's the Aquaman that we get in a lot of comics and a lot of viewings. So it's not far off. This is probably a closer portrayal to what a badass Aquaman would be.
I am excited for when Robot Chicken takes the piss out of this new Aquaman. That'll be kind of cool. I'm sure they'll have some good jokes through there. Before I get started on my 2 minutes, I want to know. I mean, Higgins, are you going last? Because you sort of kicked it off, but you didn't say anything of your own.
I usually go last, and then I'll start everything. We know what Bryce
he
thinks.
lets everybody talk, and then he says, "Those few were wrong. These were right, and this is the best."
Yeah, exactly.
We all know Bryce's opinion on most of the movies. Squad, I don't think you liked either, and Wonder Woman, you're pretty positive on.
Yeah. So. I mean, I think that this is going to be the longest podcast about a mediocre movie that has ever been. I mean, I didn't hate this movie. It was just fine.
Glowing Bryce review. Incredible.
I did not. I mean, I fucking absolutely loved Wonder Woman. I thought that Man of Hope was very It could have been much better. I expected more from a turn of the millennium Superman movie with all the effects that they could have. It was well documented are my opinions of Man of Steel. I thought that BVS was trash. I thought that Suicide Squad was laughable. This movie I thought had a lot wrong with it, but it was fun in a lot of parts. So I give it. So I did electrical engineering as my undergraduate degree, and so in that grade curve. The reason I bring that up is that a 50% is a C+ on that grade curve. A 50% is not an F, like all of you communications and marketing majors. So yeah, I would give it like a 50% and a C+. I thought that there was a bunch of enjoyable parts, but there was so much that was wrong with it as well. So yeah, I wouldn't call it a glowing Bryce review. I thought that it was just fine, and you telling like your whole social media circle that you're still smiling several hours later is like fucking just so baffling to me. But that's why they love you or hate you. So fair play. But yeah, I mean, Bryce, it was absolutely
he's not the one with a t-shirt.
That's true. Well, actually, it's not true. He printed his own t-shirts.
No, yours says Bryce is right.
Oh, that's true. That is confirmed, which means that my opinion
people
carries.
Wear it on vacation.
Tie goes to the Bryce. Is I think the official party line. But anyway,
is that a baseball term?
It should be.
Tie goes to the Bryce.
Yep.
Kevin.
Yep.
And especially you've had, as you know,
Yeah.
This is personal for you.
It is personal. The thing I said to Ryan before the lights went down was, I'm nervous. I feel like it's prom night. With such a long history of trying to get some of these characters and be able to sit down in a movie theater and see this was...
First Justice League in history.
Right?
Better be good.
Right?
How was it?
So, just not to rehash our marathon episodes on the other movies... I loved Wonder Woman. I loathed Suicide Squad, and the other two kind of fall.
Because you were just sitting in a folding chair. Just admit it.
The other two kind of fall somewhere in the low B to C range, and I'm afraid this is the same for me. There are things that I liked better in this than either in BVS or Man of Steel, so I would grade this higher than BVS certainly. And there were things that still didn't work. And the model for me on team superhero live action movies would be the first Avengers and the first Guardians. I'm not saying they're great. They're not going to be on the Mount Rushmore of cinema art. But as far as like
they are great. Keep going.
Oh, okay. As far as the realization of what a team comic book feels like, I think those two execute perfectly. This felt honestly more like a video game in a lot of parts than a comic book. And we can go into more detail later. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. There were parts where I had a big grin on my face, and there were parts where I was just scratching my head. And I'll stop it there for now.
Bring it home, Charlie.
Aren't you bringing it home?
It's not all the way home.
Yeah, it's... have you
brought.
ever played sports?
Yeah. It's fine.
We're rounding third.
Nobody passes me. It's just the way it works. Yeah, exactly, Bryce. So, yes. I'm going to give my rating first, just to give what else I say a little more context. So, it's a B+ for me. It's a solid B+. I got a lot of enjoyment out of the movie. I do think it has a lot of the intrinsic flaws that a lot of the other DC movies have for me. But that seems to be a weird choice that Warner Brothers just keeps making, and I kind of include Green Lantern in this list. And for me, when you sort of just... The biggest issue I have with a lot of these movies is the over-reliance on CGI for everything. If I take that out of it, and I kind of fill in some of the stuff with my comic knowledge and all that, I was perfectly content with this movie. Like... Do I wish they had better explained certain things for a wider audience? Yes. But I don't need that stuff explained to me any better.
Toby just made it, so we're gonna have him steal someone's scene and give his 2 cents here. But let me finish up mine real quick before we get into our Toby, what's happening? Then we're gonna get into the big talk. So you haven't missed the big talk. We just started. Plenty of time.
I just missed Charlie's.
Huh?
I just missed Charlie's.
Yeah, you're fine. You know what everyone thinks. And you know what I think, too, but I'll tell you anyway.
We already had a rehearsal of this. The walls at a local pub are still ringing with Justice League comments.
That's right. And smelly of beer that Toby spilled.
So Man of Steel.
I didn't spill shit.
Man of Steel, A, right? Obviously, A, right? Wonder Woman, A. And now we have...
fucking shit.
Now we have the third in our pantheon of... just fucking incredible DC movies. Justice League, A. I love this goddamn movie. Now, look. I know the problems that this movie has with the changing of directors, the reshoots, Okay, we'll talk about that, Scott. Don't give me that mustache. We'll talk about that. I knew about a lot of these problems. Okay, guys, whatever. I knew about a lot of these problems, right? I sat down and watched this movie as a fan of DC Comics, and it was so good despite these apparent things that were supposed to make this movie flawed that I was like, maybe this is the magic sauce. Maybe this is how you do it, is you have all this crazy behind-the-scenes turmoil and you switch directors halfway through and reach, because I fucking love this movie. The characters were... I love the interpretation of the characters. Again, they're not exactly the same, but as long as they're done well, that's all I care about. I thought it was a good mix of comedy and action that I feel a lot of the Marvel movies have gone too far in the comedic end. I feel like, not all the jokes clicked. There's a couple that I really didn't like, but the vast majority of them I thought were real funny. This movie now has my 2 favorite scenes in any superhero movie ever, which I'll have you guess if you can guess them later. No spoilers. If you listen to the Geekbox already, we talked about this. And yeah, despite everything this movie had going against it, I am floored by how much I loved it. And I will say that the amount of comments I got from people on the Facebook group, on Twitter, and in the store from people who told me, they're like, I hate BVS, I hate Man of Steel, I loved Justice League. It's like 90%.
Yeah, it's absolute proof that this is a great movie.
I didn't say that. I just said despite everything going into this movie, I am blown away by how positive the fan reaction has been. Now, clearly, again, critical reaction, we'll talk about that in a little bit, and kind of at the end we'll talk about the future of the DC Universe, but I fucking love this movie.
Well, like last month I stepped in crap, and yesterday I stepped in ice cream. So I still stepped in something, but
I was on the floor eating that ice cream, man. What are you talking about? Better. Like, I was eating that ice cream all up. I loved it. Now, Toby, Toby has been cagey as hell. He won't talk to me about this movie. So I'm assuming he hated it because it's Toby, but I really want to know what you think about this movie. I'm going to assume I'll pretend like I know what Toby's thinking.
Yeah, you might as well let it all out.
So you liked a lot of it. You hated a lot of parts of it. You could make it better if you went through and edited it yourself.
Of course, I can make it better.
Okay, there we go. Toby, what do you think?
It's easier to make something better when it's already done. I don't have to think of it. Well, some of these guys already know because we pre-recorded a podcast that we did at a pub. I originally gave it a C+, I believe. I since then have gone and rewatched it, and I'm sorry, Bryce.
Why are you sorry?
Because I kind of like this movie now. It took me a second.
Don't be sorry. I've always questioned your judgment.
I definitely still have issues with it, but like BVS, I mean BVS went from like an F to a D. This went from a C to like a B. So the second watching definitely helped. I think the first watching there's certain things where I think you've been trained to go that you already know, and you go what the fuck, and then when that shield is off on the second viewing because you already know that's coming that way.
You're talking about like Flash and Aquaman,
like the stuff that's different. Yeah, you kind of the shield is off, and you may enjoy it on a for what it is. Like the first time you go, but when you already know going in on the second viewing, I think that shield is gone. So I enjoyed it quite a bit on the second viewing.
Yeah, I saw it again today.
Yeah,
and tried to sit through the first 20 minutes or so and be critical about it, and then just kind of got lost in having fun watching it.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think for me, a lot of that comes down to I accepted these characters already because I followed the making of this film. I was like, look, you're never going to be exactly. It's great when they can make him exactly like the comic, but it's so rare when it happens. Marvel seems to do a pretty good job with it. DC's decided, including the TV shows and everything, like we're going to kind of do our own interpretation of these characters. So I think going into this movie, if you're like, that's not Barry Allen, I hate this, then well, you're never going to like any of these movies because it's so rarely exactly like the comic.
Unless you're watching any Marvel movie.
I don't know about Spider-Man Homecoming.
Some, but not all. Well, let's get into this. So let's actually talk about the characters. Let's talk about the two.
What the fuck? Spider-Man Homecoming was incredible.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly like Spider-Man. Thor, not like Thor, though.
Right. Thor is nothing like Thor. I mean, I still like Thor, but the first two movies, Thor was Thor.
Oh,
this
you mean
movie,
Thor 3?
Yeah. Thor 1 and 2, Thor is pretty Thor and Avengers. But let's talk about Justice League. So let's talk about Flash and Aquaman. I think the two characters that were clearly pretty different from their source material. And I know Flash.
Well,
what?
I mean, like, Batman and Superman are also very different than their source material. They've just had several movies to bed it in, and like,
are they that? I mean, this was as.
Actually, fuck it.
So Superman is emo man, as far as I'm concerned, from several movies, several movies.
Yeah, that was a giant mistake.
Take this movie though. That's what I mean. This is, I think, more classic interpretation of Superman.
They changed Superman for this movie,
Kevin
and
needs to
this
jump
is
in.
my favorite Superman of the three, I guess. But it's like the stepping in poop and then ice cream, and like an ice cream watered down version of poop. Like,
then you get a unicorn.
I know you said Flash and Aquaman, but we kind of got off the path.
Okay, let's talk about Superman.
I'm going to praise this, and this is a shot. I can't even believe I'm about to say this.
oh dear.
4 of my favorite DC Comics characters ever. Justice League's the only comic book in my comic reading life that I set out on a years-long mission to track down every issue. That took forever.
What?
Aquaman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and The Flash are 4 of my favorite DC characters. My favorite character in this movie by far was Superman, and I can't even believe it. And
Can you backtrack? You said every issue of Justice League you were tracking down?
Yeah.
It's your Avengers?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yes, Scott got him too.
Okay.
I said to Ryan weeks ago, nothing would make me happier than if when Henry Cavill came back to life and shows up for the first time in this movie, he's wearing the Christopher Reeve Superman costume.
Yeah.
Now, I know it doesn't fit with the aesthetic of the rest of the movie, but I just thought if you had him presented like that, looking like that with those bright primary colors, you just go, fuck, that is Superman. That's the difference between Superman and all the other characters.
That was what I was talking about with the tone and the color of this film is that the colors popped more so than they did in Man of Steel or BVS. And, you know, Suicide Squad, we got a little more color in it, but this one really, yes, we did. More so than the other ones. Well, but this one, the tone and the, like, especially of Superman's suit, like, when you saw him in his suit for the first time, you were like, that's Superman.
Yeah. And what I like is they have this whole thing with, the world's in mourning since the death of Superman, the big flag, everything. Well, okay, well, that wasn't in any of the other movies because Superman was kind of a hated and feared figure. Fine. But what I
kind of wish I had a movie in between.
To
make him a hero,
yes,
Superman.
But what I'm glad of is, much like a new creative team taking over a series, is they just said, screw it. We're just paving over that. We're not going to take 3 more movies to make him heroic, or even 1. Mm-hmm. We're just paving over it, turning the corner, and going forward. And I kind of admired that.
I mean, me and Charlie are going to disagree with you here, but I'll let Charlie tell you why.
He wasn't hated. The world was divided. You had those who were worshiping him like a god, and you had those who were trying to blame him for the disaster. But it wasn't a universal hatred.
Yeah, and BVS, the extended cut especially, shows more of that. That I feel like they really did a disservice by not having that extended cut.
So I haven't seen the extended cut. I can only comment on the theatrical.
Right.
I gotta say, I think this is the worst Superman costume. Like, next to Brandon Routh's. I couldn't stand this costume at all.
What's wrong with Brandon Routh's costume? I love Brandon Routh's costume.
Teeny little less and teeny little shorts. Well, sure, if you like that, you like that. That's fine with me.
But Superman, what are you like?
Got tiny little
my
shorts?
least favorite costume is in the Supergirl show. I hate the shoulder thing. I hate
the shoulder pads are fine.
I hate those shoulder straps.
The reason why I don't like this Superman show is you see the pads. I don't like it. It's like... I told Bryce it's like seeing his kid on Halloween wearing a Superman costume with the painted muscles. I'm like, no, the first Superman we saw, I actually thought it was not him. I thought it was just some random dude pretending to be Superman. I didn't think it was him.
I actually, like Kevin, really liked this Superman.
Yeah.
I thought they did a very good job, number one, of being able to bring him back.
Yep.
So that was a unique twist.
Unique twist. You didn't. The only thing we knew about this movie was that he was coming back. What do you mean unique twist?
From comic book Rebirth.
Okay.
So he died fighting Doomsday.
Per Charlie, it was pretty comic book accurate. Actually, I didn't even know about that.
Yeah.
Without the mother box.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, without the mother box, but the sort of Kryptonian chamber, rejuvenation chamber.
That part
and all
was the same,
yeah.
but you throw in a mother box, which makes sense
Yeah.
in line with the movie. Now, all of a sudden, you've actually got a story that makes sense for once.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have liked them to do something different with Superman. I mean, I have no problem with the way they brought him back, but I would have liked maybe.
Can I interject?
Well, I was gonna say maybe his body like wasn't in the grave, like he was already being rejuvenated, like Helix came and got him or something. Because it felt weird that they were like, we're just gonna dig up Superman's corpse and throw him in this bag. Like, but
it was weird.
But they're like, and now he's back. Just fucking deal with it,
Well,
right?
hey,
like,
I could do this a lot faster, you know.
What? Bring the ship to them?
Oh, he's doing
No,
a flash joke.
the flash joke that he said. Wow,
yes.
I could do this a lot faster.
Yes. But Toby?
I don't necessarily have a problem with the way they brought him back, but I kind of wish their backs were more against the wall before they did it. I kind of was hoping when they were fighting Steppenwolf before that maybe Cyborg would be in pieces. Batman's half bladdered up.
What? That's a totally different movie.
No. Just to step right before they were fighting them, right? I kind of wish their backs were more against the wall, where Batman goes, "No, we have no choice to bring Superman back. This is the only way we can defeat this guy."
So there does seem to be a lot of this, because if you guys read, there was a huge post on Reddit where someone that apparently worked on the film, and I believe them because of the amount of stuff they were talking about, seems incredibly accurate and way too specific to most people. I think seem to take this. That this is true. There was a bunch of stuff like this. There was all sorts of other scenes that were either filmed or planned out where, in the Snyder version, where, they basically get the fuck kicked out of them. And that whole scene where Alfred's in the Batcave and he's like, "Oh, you're here."
Yeah.
Right? That was cut out. Half the trailer's not in the movie, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's Superman coming back and just being like, "Okay, I'm back now. I have to go save these guys," right? So there was supposed to be a lot more of that got cut out for the Whedon bits.
Okay.
So you're 100%. That's exactly what was planned.
Cool.
Yeah. To me, I love the. I mean, again, the way they brought him back, I don't think may have been the best, but it worked to get him back. And then that fight he's kind of messed up for a minute, but the whole let's bring in the big guns and they bring in Lois, like that's such a genius moment. And then we just get Superman. Superman's just back at that point, and again, kind of like Kevin said, just brush it away. Let's just get back to how we're supposed to be.
Yes,
and
yes.
So we had two movies of emo Superman. Yeah, we're not doing that no more.
Right,
I'm fine with that.
Well,
and I like just hitting the reset and just going forward.
Yeah. So Batman obviously is a big part of this. So let's talk about Batman. You guys heard this rumor about come next year sometime,
Batfleck is out.
Batfleck is out, and Jake Gyllenhaal is taking over the role.
Yeah, fuck that.
You hear about this?
Is that a real rumor?
I mean, it's a rumor. It's a rumor.
It's a real rumor.
It's a real rumor.
To borrow a line from my good friend Ryan Higgins, is this a level 4 rumor or is this a level 1 rumor?
Real rumor. Toby's actually taking Henry Cavill's place in the next Justice League movie. It's a real rumor.
I know that's a fake rumor.
To lose, man.
Well, also Toby can't grow a mustache. So.
Yeah, half a mustache, man. I'm only half Asian, man.
And whether this is it for Batman, or whether we get that solo movie, or whether he pops up in Aquaman or whatever.
Wait, I'm sorry. Do you think that we're going to if you had to speculate, what percentage would you say that we get a solo Batman movie? If you had to guess.
100%.
You would say 100% we get a Ben Affleck Batman movie.
Oh, you just said a solo Batman movie.
Okay, so
Ben Affleck? I mean, prior to the last 6 months, I would have said 100%. But now I don't know.
I'm asking you actually now.
Well, we have Aquaman next year. Wonder Woman and Shazam for 2019. There is at this point, there is nothing happening past those movies. No matter what they've said in the past, that is the extent of the DC universe going forward. Those three movies.
And the thing is, Aquaman is finished.
That was
finished shooting, so that one
Aquaman's 100% done. Yeah, it comes out.
Wonder
in December.
Woman 2, they'd be stupid not to continue with.
Right,
it.
Wonder Woman and Shazam are 100%.
That was grade A obfuscation.
So Batman, I'd say Ben Affleck solo Batman. I say I mean 50-50. It just depends if he wants to stick around, if they can right the ship, right? So this was the last movie that was not 100% under Jeff Johns' control. All right, Justice League, he was involved in it, but going forward, Aquaman and on, Johns is the driving force in his head of DC film position. And my hope is that this is now we have the course correction that we needed. That all the guys at WB are kind of out of the picture, and it's Johns and his buddy, I'm blanking on the other guy's name, the two guys that are running the ship, that they're now in charge of everything. And if their plan is 6 DCU movies in 2020, fucking awesome, right? But they have a lot of work to do to get those, because we have Squad 2, Cyborg, Flash, Batman, Nightwing, Birds of Prey, Gotham City Sirens, Justice League Dark. What else has been announced?
That'd be totally cool if they just scrap half of those and just make sure those half are really good.
Oh, that's what I mean. I don't need 8 movies to come out. I mean, I would love them if they all happen, but it's like I don't...
How many do you need?
I mean, all of them. I want them all, right? But I don't need any of them. I would love them...
So 0.
I would love them to all happen, but I want them to be good. I don't want all the drama that's filmed, that's gone around. And even Wonder Woman was so full of random drama that Patty Jenkins came out and said after the movie was done, she's like, this is all bullshit. None of this is all fake, right? So let's go back to Batman. Again, I love Batfleck. I would love to have him in more movies. He's probably done, I would think. If they did better, he maybe would stick around, or if,
I'm hope that maybe after all these press briefings, he's having fun again.
Maybe.
I'm hoping.
I would hope so. I think he's great.
Yeah, but I think he's done because he just is done himself. Like, he chose to be done.
But, I mean, this is... Wow, I'm going to get into it already.
Get into it, Charlie.
Really, really fucking tired of the internet right now.
Yeah.
Because what it comes to with the Justice League movie is so many of the reviews and that stuff focus on, Henry Cavill's mustache, or Ben Affleck was just phoning it in, or like...
Oh, we didn't talk about the mustache, but we'll talk about it after Charlie.
But I swear, because of all the drama that came out before Justice League, because Ben Affleck wanting to get out of Batman has been a rumor since...
It's like the first movie.
Yeah. Like, everybody is in like this hypercritical mode of, we must find the flaws. We must be overly critical on everything. And blame the fact that it was half Joss and half Snyder.
No,
and
the fault finding from critics of this movie is outrageous.
I kind of feel like every single little piece of drama, they walked out of that movie going, yeah, it was much better than anything we had before, but here's all the flaws because of all this stuff. It's like they went in pre-armed with stuff to look for, and
Let's talk about this mustache, okay? How many of you knew about this before going in? Okay,
everybody, right?
So going in, I knew nothing about this.
Yeah. But did you think Henry Cavill looked weird?
The first scene pops up, and I was like, why? What's going on? I didn't understand what happened with his face.
Yeah.
I'm like, is this like after a fight? Does he have a fat lip? Does he have, I saw it and thought there was something wrong. Go home after the movie, I type it up, because unlike you guys, and again, I feel sorry for Charlie and the rest of you guys who troll the internet all day long and watch the Twitter and do all that stuff. I generally stay away from that. So I don't know that Ben Affleck was having problems. I don't know about any of this stuff unless I come into the shop, and I haven't been doing that until real recently.
But that's a better way to enjoy the movie, though.
So I was free of that. But the mustache thing, I thought it looked odd, and then when I read online what it was, I'm like, wow, they did a really good job covering up a mustache. So I thought the CGI on it was pretty good.
So so the whole thing here is that for Mission Impossible 6, Henry Cavill's in it, and he has a mustache in that. And Paramount said, you can't shave it because we have to do reshoots. We have to have the mustache look the same. So when he went back to do reshoots for Justice League, they digitally removed it from his face. I would have said, fuck you, just shave and grow it back, like whatever. But, okay, whatever, they did this. I had heard a little bit about this before going in.
I would figure it'd be easier to put a mustache back on a person, even if it's fake. Than to cover up a mustache digitally.
I didn't think about it when I went in to go see this movie, and at no point in watching this movie did I think there was anything wrong with Henry Cavill.
Yeah, but you also don't know what good art is and what bad art is.
Okay.
So, I just want to point that out. Visually,
I never...
So was it just the first scene?
No, it was like every scene that he was in.
Wow, because it was only the first scene that I recognized.
The first scene is where it's very predominant.
So
where you actually see it.
It's also supposed to be very grainy,
grainy film,
footage.
which is harder to do. So the guys doing the CG did a fairly decent job on that. But the other scenes within the movie, it's easy, you could tell if you knew what it is and what you're looking for, or have an eye for it, unlike Higgins.
So the fault finders. All the fault finders on the internet picked here. You ever do this? You ever watch TV? You watch TiVo, you're watching DVD or something like that, and you're like, "Oh man, I need to go get a drink, Bryce." And you're like, "I can't deal with all this trolling from Ryan Higgins about the Justice League movie. I have to go get super fucking
like that
tanked
every day."
And so you pause the movie, and the character, who is a normally beautiful person, is just turning mid-frame and goes, bleh, has like this weird, goofy look on their face, right?
Beyonce knows that one real well.
The internet took this one frame that someone took of a shot of Henry Cavill during one scene. It's a scene where he's holding Batman, and he asks Batman, "Do you bleed?" Right? It's during that scene. And it's like, look at how stupid Superman's face looks here. And that's the one still image that's thrown around the internet, and with people being like, "Look how bad this is! Fuck this movie! Ha ha ha! I'm not going to go see it."
The internet sucks.
Right? Exactly. If you were watching, like Scott said, if you had no idea this was in there, you would never notice that there was anything wrong with him during this.
Weird.
He looked weird.
I did notice, but I only noticed in the first scene. That's it.
Yeah.
And so after that, it was. I mean, if he had to do other shots like that, brilliant. Because I looked for it today. So on second viewing, I was looking for it, and like I said, I lost track. Not
well, you said 20 minutes in, you stopped being critical and just enjoyed it. Yeah. So.
Are we still on Batman?
You can go back to Batman. But if you got comments
like
about
it. I was wondering what
Superman.
I was wondering what the over/under is on Higgins spending 15 or more minutes on this mustache thing.
Well, it's a big thing, right? It's a big drama.
It's not worth 15 minutes of this podcast.
It's been worth the last
on the mustache.
It certainly was.
It's been worth.
It's okay. It was my fault for getting angry about the Batman thing.
No, it was something I wanted to talk about because it's been a huge part of the internet.
Yeah, but I feel like the Batman criticism is the same kind of way. Like, I think he was fine, but I think people, because of the narrative that the movie took off before about, Ben Affleck doesn't want to do it anymore, everybody kind of went in there going, he doesn't want to do it anymore, and started criticizing his performance.
My God.
I get so fucking tired of...
Agreed.
So ever since... basically John Carter, I have realized that the internet creates this crazy narrative around whether a movie's good or bad just based on what the internet is saying around it.
Yeah.
Well, especially nerds.
And I am really, really, really fucking tired of it.
Yeah.
Me too.
Let's figure. We destroyed John Carter at one point.
Great movie.
And because of the nerd rage, Aquaman never got made. They stopped it beyond the pilot.
Oh, the TV show?
Yeah.
So I, am familiar with this whole Ben Affleck wants to leave narrative, but that didn't affect my opinion of Ben Affleck as Batman. I do not like Ben Affleck as Batman. I've never liked Ben Affleck as Batman. I think that he's laughable and paunchy and old, and that is, by the way, with a huge asterisk of this is all qualification for a superhero movie. I do not think that he will ever show up in a solo Batman movie. I think that, look, he's not an old man, but I think that in terms of being an action hero, unless you're going to be one of those self-ironic action heroes like the dude from Taken or Bruce Willis or something like that, he's going to very quickly get to the...
Liam Neeson?
Thank you. He's going to very quickly get to the age of... I can make a lot more money doing other things, especially when I'm getting all this shit for being Batman that I don't need to because I'm many times over a multimillionaire.
Right. That's why I think it's unlikely that he'll continue much longer because he doesn't have to.
So anyway,
but he loves Batman.
His acting aside, I find his Frank Miller version of Batman ridiculous considering they just started the Justice League. I'm not really sure where it goes from there.
Well, that's not him. That's Snyder, right? It's not like it's Affleck's.
Well, who do you want me to blame? Higgins,
but that's not Ben Affleck's choice. That's the character they wrote.
Okay, so that's the character they wrote, but there's certainly some elements of his acting that him acting in a more gritty way. And okay, so maybe that's the director, and so maybe I still want Snyder out. Maybe it's Ben Affleck. I'm not sure that Ben Affleck is my least favorite Batman ever. Worse than Val Kilmer.
Oh
no. That was a no on the Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer and Clooney were fine.
I think Val Kilmer was fine.
No.
Clooney, we're not talking about the movie around him.
Right. Sorry. I liked Val Kilmer more than Clooney. My rating is Christian Bale, Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, Clooney.
Adam West?
By the way, Adam West is second. Wait,
he's off on a
no.
side
Adam West is third. Sorry, and at the very bottom is Old Man Affleck.
No Kevin Conroy.
Yeah, see, I would say that's my number one. The animated series. The animated series.
That's a different list. That doesn't rank.
Okay,
it doesn't rank with live action Batman. What?
Well,
could be live action
I'll make a Batman comment as trivial as the discussion about the mustache, which is a trivial topic. I don't mean on here. I mean that became a controversy. Is ridiculous. Yeah. I was just so distracted every time Batman was on screen, as I told these guys, by the cowl. That the cowl has crow's feet sculpted into it next to the eyes and a furrowed brow. And every time he was on, I was just staring at that cowl going, why would Batman sculpt a furrowed brow onto his cowl?
Even when he's not angry, he's angry.
Why would he have crow's feet carved into his cowl?
Oh, I mean, you know why.
I know why.
Right.
I'm just saying I was so distracted. I found that more distracting than Henry Cavill slightly looking off in a few shots. Another thing is something that really, really makes me happy, and Ryan actually just did it in the store earlier tonight, is is seeing Commissioner Gordon on the roof of the police headquarters turning on a bat signal. I love that shit. I love that shit since I was 5 years old. In this movie, that felt so clunky and shoehorned in that I just didn't understand. It didn't seem to fit. This did not seem to be part of a world where Commissioner Gordon and Batman are interacting. This seemed like a bigger story than that. And that just really rang off to me.
Well, he's working with Gordon trying to track down the parademons, but they've been getting all these reports of parademons in Gotham. I would think he would call Batman.
It's also bullshit, by the way, that they all disappear off the roof when he turns around. Like, I know that was played for a laugh,
that was pretty funny.
It's fucking actually not funny.
Okay.
Like, that's Batman's thing, and the fact that, like, his whole team does it, that's...
Except for Flash.
That's not... the my
one that
fucking God, do not get me started on the worst
talk about the next character
of the movie.
Actually, can we go to Flash?
Shit.
Well, hold on, we will in 1 second. Let's talk about...
Oh my God, the Teen Titans Go character of this movie.
Let's talk about something else. Well, hey, we'll talk about that in a second. Let's talk about something else that just got mentioned. It's not a character, but it might as well be. Let's talk about Zack Snyder for a second, because whether you love him or hate him, he will never be back behind the camera for any movie, any writing credits, nothing. He is 100% done. This was it. He was done Friday. Thursday, you had a chance with the money you took in Thursday. It's like maybe if the Friday box office numbers came in, he was done.
For DC movies.
For DC movies.
If
you hate Snyder, he's gone. If you love him, he's gone.
Well, I just don't like him for DC movies. I wouldn't say that I hate him, but I do not like him for DC movies.
I'm
very glad that he's
as
gone.
100% convinced you will never see a Ben Affleck solo Batman movie. I'm 100% convinced that we will never see Zack Snyder's name on another movie again.
So you're 50-50.
Although,
didn't that literally happen?
As much as you are sure.
I will admit,
that's not what you said, though.
That's what
I think. It leads to where Marvel has succeeded in their movies, which is getting directors, specific directors for the types of movies. I think Zack Snyder. I mean, honestly, he does have his own style and all that stuff, and I think he could bring a really great style to certain characters in the DCU. But giving him the reins of the Trinity, I think, is where they failed, especially with, kind of the really mixed review of Man of Steel, and then the BVS, complete. I mean, BVS was complete opposite. It was either you were for it or you were against it.
Yeah.
Now, if they had said, "Oh, can you come and do this character called Hitman?" I would have been like, "Let's watch this fucking movie."
Very cool,
right? Because his style leads to that type of character.
Well, again,
to me, the thing about Snyder is I don't feel like he's a good choice for the entirety of a movie. I think he is a great choice for certain scenes in a movie and certain parts of a movie, but to do an entire movie around his style doesn't tend to lend itself very well.
I would love to see him back in 15 years when DC's figured this all out and we're 30 movies in and he does The Dark Knight Strikes Again, right? Or The Dark Knight Rises, or Dark Knight Returns, I mean.
Can we
Yeah.
can we sidebar the amount of Jim Lee, Frank Miller, Batman jumping off buildings? Because while it may have seemed trivial in that iconic image, I did enjoy that. So that's my Batman review. So I missed out on that.
Last comment on Snyder. I mean, unless you want to go on with it, we in the interest of accuracy, there's one thing for Snyder that we need to mention. Man of Steel is a Christopher Nolan produced movie that Snyder was hired for as a director. Christopher Nolan's not a producer who sits back and cashes a check and says, "Tell me when it's done," and he's on a boat somewhere. He is hands-on with fingerprints on that project. BVS is the purest vision of Snyder of the DC movies. Like it or don't like it. Man of Steel, I don't want to say a co-production, but somebody like Nolan has a lot of power and is not a producer just with a name on a project cashing the checks.
So let's move on to Flash.
Yeah.
And
I'm very, very curious of how you like Sheldon as Flash.
So I'm a big Flash fan. Was it like who?
Sheldon.
Oh, yeah. So Leanne wanted me to say a couple things. One thing she wanted me to say was she thinks Sheldon on Big Bang Theory was a big influence on the Flash character. And, I mean, that's possibly...
Leanne, get it, girl.
I really think just someone at DC really hates you and going, this is what we're doing to Ryan's favorite character.
Bazinga.
Well, let's do this. Let's say this. If you're going to have a character that's a little autistic, if you're going to have a character that's a little clueless, played a little
ADHD.
younger, played a little ADD, it's Flash. Of any of these characters, this is the character to do it with. So they wanted a little comic relief. They wanted someone a little lighter. They wanted someone a little younger. They wanted a character that maybe parts of the audience would relate to a little bit. As Flash. Now,
I mean, why though? Like, why couldn't it have been Cyborg? They're the same age. I mean, why couldn't it have been a reinterpretation of the
because Flash has been known for some of the comic relief.
I mean,
Cyborg is more of like the fallen hero getting back up.
He's playing Wally, right? I mean, he's playing Wally West here. This isn't really Barry Allen that we know as Barry Allen.
Except that it is Barry Allen. I
mean, his name is Barry Allen, but this is much more in line with Wally West or Bart Allen, right? I mean, that's this interpretation of the Flash.
Got it.
I loved the Flash, hands down. I thought he was very fun, very funny.
He's also the best actor of making giant eyes.
Just his big
giant
eyes. Yeah, well, again, he's the kid thrown into this much bigger world that he's not prepared for, and I thought it was great. Now, can you nitpick a few things? Why would he have a Flash costume if he's not a superhero already?
I actually kind of was hoping in this version of the universe, and I know this is not comic book accurate, I was kind of hoping that Superman,
inspired him
that he maybe not even be the Flash yet, that he is inspired to do these things, and that as they welcome him, they actually give him the suit. I kind of would have liked that.
How is it a nitpick to wonder how he has a full armor with intricate cable webbing across it and a fucking lightning bolt shaped codpiece?
You and that codpiece.
How, seriously, you say it's a nitpick? How does this, nobody kid have this full set of armor if he's not a superhero?
How does any of these people make anything? How does Peter Parker make his Spider-Man suit? In the movies?
He goes to it's home ed class or whatever.
He fucking goes to Michael's and he takes his sewing class.
The thing is,
I mean, Flash has fucking crazy armor.
Bryce, I think the problem is you're forgetting that you have to suspend a little disbelief, like Scott was saying in the beginning. In that you have to remember, Flash would be able to go, "I need a costume," and he would read up on how to sew,
and he how
to do all of these things, the thermodynamics, all of this stuff. And guess what? He'd be able to read it and be done.
And he spends 30 seconds making it.
Yeah.
So are we getting into the lack of character development for half the characters? Are we getting into that part yet, or is that later?
I mean, you could talk about that with any of the characters. And again,
later? Okay.
Well, let's briefly talk about Snyder, but we'll usually talk about Flash. As far as I understand, again, reading a lot of the stuff on that Reddit list, reading stuff on other sites.
What is this Reddit list?
Someone went on Reddit. Oh, you weren't here when we were talking about this. No, I think you were. Someone went on Reddit.
Plot twist.
And they
Your mic was off.
They claimed they worked for the movie, and they had this huge list of all the scenes that were in the movie.
You couldn't send this out before we recorded.
All the scenes that were in the movie that were, and this is the parts that were Snyder, this is the part that was Joss Speed, and this is what was reshot.
Know that.
And then all the scenes that were cut where they fit between the movies.
Oh, I kind of
right?
want to. Yeah, I kind of want to read this.
Not only that, it was either 8 or 12.
Well, will you send this out?
I can see if I find them. 8 short scenes were put on Vimeo.
What?
They were pulled immediately, right, by Warner Brothers.
But once they're on the internet.
Right, so I'm hoping I can find them again. Of deleted scenes that weren't finished. They still had special effects missing, right? And they were again, Bryce just ran to the bathroom, so he's going to miss this. But they were mostly about Cyborg and a couple about Flash character development scenes. Scenes with Cyborg engaging with other stuff.
Yeah, Momoa went on record today talking about how a lot of stuff was sort of cut for.
There was
Cyborg, Flash, and Aquaman.
Yeah.
Who's the guy the guy in Atlantis that's always backing him, but
Volko
was completely cut from the film.
Cut out of the scene. What's the
William
actor's
Dafoe,
name?
right?
William Dafoe. Yeah, William Dafoe.
You cut William Dafoe out of the movie? What is your fucking problem?
Is he in the credits?
No, I don't think so because I cut it completely. And so is Iris West, right? Iris was completely cut out. But in one of the scenes, there's a scene where he saves her. She's in a car crash and he saves her, and that's one of the scenes that's cut out. So you see like the minimal visual effects while they're finishing. And there's a scene in the trailer where Flash puts his hand through the glass. That's that scene where he's saving Iris.
I pulled a Bryce on the Justice League previews, so I didn't see anything.
Well, good, because none of the stuff from the trailers were in the movie.
It's funny, if you actually go from the early ones, it's darker than shit. And then it gets lighter and lighter and lighter until it actually has a really good tone and color.
They light up the movie quite a bit. You could there's a couple scenes where you could tell it still has that Zack Snyder filter on it a little bit.
And what's up with Zack Snyder hiring all the Watchmen to be parents of these new studios?
I know. That's funny.
So Ryan, as a Flash fan, how did you? Because I think it's a natural comparison question. How did you like him in this movie compared to the TV show Flash?
Can I say something about that before Ryan goes in?
Yeah.
It's I hate to say it, but it's a nitpick. But how can he have a movie where he talks to his dad and the TV stuff is like 20 times better?
Well, again, I think it's because I cut half of it out, right? And TV has
but
a
the
lot
dialogue between the dad and Barry was so good on TV.
Oh yeah.
Well, but the thing is we're also like, I know a lot of people have qualms with the Flash's character. I didn't mind him so much because to me it was like, okay, we're taking a Barry Allen at a younger time, like. The Barry Allen in the TV show is in his early 20s.
Yeah.
Right? Like, every Barry... Like, when we've seen him in the old show, he was older than that. This is the first time we're getting him kind of in that late teen,
I think he's supposed to be... He's already... Again, if you take the show and you take the movie, Barry's probably 2 or 3 years older in the show than the movie.
And the
so
thing is,
he's
and
a
the
little
thing
more
is
confident.
The angle that they're going for is, again, he's still a little younger. He still doesn't know. And he just got these powers instead of having a job, working it, trying to figure out who killed his mother. He doesn't have that yet. And yet he's given these powers at a different period, a different time in his life.
I think if you look at Avengers, look at Black Widow's backstory, look at Hawkeye's backstory, look at Vision's backstory, they're not given any more screen time than these characters are in this. And I think they do a pretty good job. Again, as Scott said, as comic fans, we can fill in the details. We know. Now, that's not an excuse for the people sitting there in the theater that have no fucking clue. But, I mean, it didn't bother me. I had no problem, again, because I could fill in those scenes.
So I talked to a lot of laymen.
Yeah.
And those are the people that I'm going to say that are not comic book fans.
And I understand it could be...
I went to the movie with my boss.
Civilians.
Yeah,
They're called civilians.
Oh, it's normal.
My buddy Jeff goes to see all of them and gives me his review right away. And I was like, half the time I'm like, that's not how that character goes. That's not how this happens. And he really... Okay. And I have to question sometimes, as a comic book fan, he likes the DC movies better than the Marvel ones. He calls me and tells me I like darker movies. Suicide Squad was amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you talking about, Jeff? There's all sorts of stuff going on.
Movies like Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad don't make $800 to $900 million, and nobody likes them. They just don't. That just doesn't happen. People do like these movies. People see them multiple times. Again, Justice League may have underperformed in America, but it overperformed internationally, which is shocking as hell to me. That's the international numbers could save this franchise. So
yeah, no, it didn't.
The Trinity is better known internationally than the Marvel
stuff. Yeah,
so that's not.
So
really
I know we have a lot of characters to get to, but I'm curious. Your Flash versus Flash.
I mean, again, it's not fair to compare. We have 15 minutes of Flash versus now 4 full seasons, right? So,
I'm just talking about kind of the take on the character.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, the TV version's closer to the comic, so I'm going to prefer that. But I liked a lot of elements of this character. I really like the Speed Force effect and his.
Let's ante this up.
So,
80s Flash versus current TV Flash versus movie.
You're talking John Wesley Shipp?
Yeah.
See, I never was a big fan of that show. I really wasn't.
Toby, it was rough. I mean, we grew up on it.
But
theme
song.
The theme song was good.
Yes, that was about it.
You know.
So I mean, Flash, guys, talk. I know Bryce hates him.
Maybe Mark Hamill.
The Flash. I liked that characterization, but I like Wally West better than I like Barry Allen.
I do too.
So that's my Flash. Wally's my Flash. So, and this was closer to Wally than it was.
I think he needs to be screaming #my Flash.
Yeah. #my Flash. I don't know what that means. That probably doesn't sound good.
Don't worry about it. Don't listen to him. Continue on.
But I liked that the character is his characterization. It fit that Wally Bart image in my head.
Yeah.
The fact that he built the suit wasn't it's the same thing that I would go back to Spider-Man. Being able to build the suit, whether it's a complete picture or not, tells you that he's intelligent. And I think that's a key part that I think a lot of people overlook. Yeah, he built this out of space shuttle materials.
He also has a lot of books in his little bunker.
He stole it all.
Right, and he probably took it all. And whatever it was, that's a backstory. That fills out
where
what
did
you
he get
think
that
of him.
pizza?
Stole that pizza.
Doesn't matter. You get it in a second.
Would it have been so difficult, and this is something that I regrettably or not come back to many times over, would it have been so difficult for them to add a little 10-second, 30-second, fill-in scene if they're doing reshoots anyway, or if it was just a good movie, to, fill in all of these what the fuck moments? They couldn't have had, a 10-second scene of him, putting together a costume? Would that have been too taxing on the effects? Would any character development have hurt that at all? Where the fuck did this character come from? Anyway, by the way, all right, so my review on Flash is that he was...
better or worse than Quicksilver in Avengers?
Way worse. Because Quicksilver's always been a fucking arrogant ass and
so you talk about no character development, but that Quicksilver in Avengers had half a second of character development.
Okay.
Yeah, his character.
So one of my problems with our little after show with the bar that we recorded that Toby may or may not ever publish.
I do have it.
Is that the favorite? The favorite complaint of Charlie was there. The DC lovers is to always deflect to Marvel. Well, Marvel did this. Well, Marvel did this. So thank you for sort of falling into that category. I mean, I know that I do that just the same, but so not talking about Quicksilver, but thanks for bringing it up because that was absolutely unnecessary. I thought that so I think that Teen Titans Go is incredibly not funny, ADD, cringeworthy humor.
Teen Titans Go is one of the best shows on TV. It's so good, Charlie.
Oh, it's good. It's very good.
It's amazing.
All right, so the two man children at the table.
I think it's good too.
The three.
Dance for your bees, Brock.
Dance for your bees.
See, here's a funny thing about you using Teen Titans Go. You're talking about the wrong character.
Yeah.
You understand. Okay, we'll talk about Cyborg next, but you understand that
Jesus Christ.
Okay, continue about Flash, and we'll talk about Cyborg.
Anyway, I just thought that every joke he made was cringeworthy. Every joke he made. By the way, I was sitting next to you. You laughed one time out loud in the whole movie. I was sitting next to you. I have no reason to lie about this. And that was when Flash falls on Wonder Woman's boobs. That was pretty funny. That was the only moment that you laughed out loud. The rest of the movie, there's fucking like 50 Flash jokes that just like some people chuckled, some people didn't chuckle. From joke to joke.
I'm not a laugh out loud guy at the movie theater.
You certainly were not during the Flash jokes. And by the way, neither was 90% of the audience.
I sat next to you in Thor.
I didn't laugh hardly at all. The only time I laughed was when Banner jumps off.
No. Let Scott say it. Let Scott say it. Let's go.
You laughed 2 or 3 times. Whoa! One time was the Banner time.
I laughed during that. Well, I mean,
the tight pant Tony.
Oh, there were definitely points where that whole theater was laughing, and I was just stone faced. I'm like, that wasn't funny. I'm going to disagree with you. We were all there. I think most of the jokes got some laughs.
I think that so most, definitely not all, of the jokes got some like. Which is to say, fucking not funny.
Oh no, Flash did get one of my favorite scenes in the movie, though.
So I remember watching Guardians of the Galaxy in the theater, and there were moments where it was like, I can't hear what's being said on the next line because people are laughing so hard.
Anyone get back me up here?
I haven't really had that.
It wasn't like the theater was silent during the scenes. People were laughing.
Dude, are you even listening to what I'm saying? I'm not saying the theater was silent. I'm just saying that there was like 1,000 jokes given by Flash, and like they.
No, there wasn't.
Most of them got like literally every scene he was in. Like he had some like last word that he had to deliver for the scene for it to be funny. Like, every scene he was in, he got the last word. Because it was supposed to be a joke. And most of them were like...
Come on, that's the shit that I hated about Guardians 2, and they didn't pull that in this.
No, it was totally different in Guardians 2. Guardians 2 was slapsticky, and they carried jokes on way too long. As opposed to this, they just let the Flash have, like, the last word every single time, and some of them were funnier than others. And certainly he got plenty of, like, chuckles all around. And, like, there was a bunch of times that he got a bunch of laughs, full stop. But... fuck if they didn't use every single scene that he was in to have him get the last word in because it was going to be so funny.
Okay.
Terribly annoying and, in fact, cringeworthy. And what I was saying earlier, you guys are saying, like, Cyborg couldn't have taken up that role because he's the fallen son or whatever the fuck. I mean, like, I'm thinking of the unfortunate 10 minutes that I've watched of Teen Titans Go where he's, like, the biggest buffoon ever. So, like, why couldn't it have been Cyborg? You're saying he's, like, the fallen son. Like, what does that fucking even mean? Because I've seen Teen Titans Go. I don't understand why they couldn't have just rewritten the character.
He knows his backstory.
Anyway, I also don't understand why it couldn't have been Wally West instead of Barry Allen. I mean, they got Cyborg in there as a founding member of the Justice League. Do you remember that classic Justice League with no Superman and fucking Lobo? I mean, Aquaman and Cyborg. Yeah, that classic Justice. And Frank Miller, Dark Knight, Batman. Yeah, that classic Justice League. Like,
so anyone else? Flash? Anyone else want to jump in here?
Charlie loved it.
So the Flash is one of those cases where I can't fill in the details and I want the details. So I liked it, but I kind of need that Flash solo movie so I can actually find out how on earth he got hit by lightning with chemicals to become the Flash if he wasn't already in the crime lab. And like most of the time from comic book knowledge, I can just go, this is how it happened. I can't do that.
It was a science lab at school.
Yeah, he's with other chemicals.
Yeah. Here, he got his powers somehow. They'll deal with it.
That makes me mad.
Are you even listening to yourself, though? Like you had no character development, and so you filled it all in, and you wished you had more character development, but because you had no character development, you liked it?
No, I'm saying I like the overall portrayal, but I want those details. I want a solo Flash movie that gives me those details, because as of right now, I don't have them.
Right, you got no details, so you loved it. What the
Uncle Scrooge.
It doesn't matter if they're different. It doesn't matter if the origin's a little different as long as it works.
Or as long as they give it to you.
But you don't have to know the greater details of Flash's origin to enjoy.
Can I get any of it?
No. I mean, you didn't
get a whole bunch for Black Panther.
You have the character.
He just kind of shows up.
You have the character development with him and his personal life, but the superhero stuff, he's just learning. He has his powers. Maybe he does. Maybe they're going to say he doesn't know how he got them. I mean,
to me, all it really comes down to is I don't need it in a Justice League movie,
right?
But I need it. Meaning, if they do get to the Flash solo movie, I will be pissed if they don't fill in more details. But this was a Justice League movie. This was just about bringing these characters together to fight a greater evil.
Of course they're going to do it.
They're not going to... Do you remember how pissed off everybody was? Oh, they're re-showing the origins of Batman again at the beginning of BVS. We don't need every single character's origin
we didn't get it
in a Justice League movie.
I agree.
Yeah, I cannot believe that I'm saying these words out loud, but I agree with Brock. There is... Like, why on earth does it need
that is going to be such a Bryce quote.
Why on earth, like, can we not expect a little... We got 10 minutes of random Wonder Woman scene, which was, like, the best part of the entire movie. We got 10 minutes... Oh, my God, I can't even wait till we talk about Aquaman. But we got, like, a 10-minute Aquaman scene. Like...
We did not get any more character development from Wonder Woman in VVS, and nobody was fucking complaining. We got that in the Wonder Woman movie.
Nailed it.
Okay, I will capitulate. I'll agree. I'm not sure if it's applause-worthy. But,
anyone else? Flash?
But by the way, while I'm waiting for somebody else to interrupt me,
this is a personal one for Kevin, so I want to hear it.
I do want to say that my argument for him being annoying is very separate than the one for character development. The character development, not having character development for Flash, like, yeah, I can take that or I can leave it. Like, yes, it's annoying, but yes, I do agree with your points that there's been plenty of other great characters that didn't have character development, but he was super annoying. All of his jokes were just like, holy fucking shit, this is terrible. Despite Higgins' troll tweets, I only facepalmed once, and...
that is such bullshit. I saw you out of the corner of my eye. Every time something happened, you were like... and you're making all these fucking faces during the whole
This would be better on video.
You know what?
I can't tell if you're dancing to hands clap or if you're just
we
fucking...
need to get, like, the Patreon video where we just have cameras on us for reactions to movies, and then we can just do commentary.
I mean, Toby's literally done that. But,
Kevin, I want to hear
Okay.
This is personal for you.
It is.
# not my Flash.
# old man. My Flash was the one that was killed in Crisis on Infinite Earth. That character's never been back. I mean, there's a character with that name who's back in comics, but that character has never been back. And at the time, I remember a quote reading a behind the scenes about Crisis, and they were saying one of the reasons we chose the Flash as a sacrifice is because nobody knew what to do with him. And my answer is, well, then get some better fucking writers. You don't know what to do with the Flash? Give me a break. That's my Flash. I recognize that character is gone forever, and so there are different versions being portrayed. I like the TV show version. This one was, I don't know. I don't really have a passionate reaction either way, but I could see why some would really be put off by the Ezra Miller portrayal. I don't know. It didn't bother me. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it.
It's hard for you to
not
have
as
fun.
good as TV,
it's okay.
though. It's not as good
I
as the
didn't.
TV
I
version.
think the TV version is better personally.
I wouldn't disagree with that either. I mean, it's closer to the character that I like, that I prefer, but I feel like you did a decent enough job in this. So Cyborg. Give your bits.
Tobias.
One of my favorite scenes in this movie belongs to Flash.
Me too.
And
too.
it is when, and I think it's like a nice different take on the Quicksilver scene, but it's when Superman is beating everybody the fuck up.
Yep.
And the Flash is going to run around this motherfucker and push him, because that's what Flash does, is push people. And then he sees Superman's eyeball rolling backwards, and he's like, this is the first time in his life that someone is like keeping up with him. He's like, holy motherfucking God. Best scene in the movie.
That was a great scene. It was... I not sarcastically love that scene.
Yeah. So I love that scene.
Agreed.
Remember when I said this has my two favorite scenes of all time in any superhero movie? That's one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That was very well done.
Yeah.
The eyeball roll at the same speed, and then his head turns, and you're going...
Yeah.
Well, I think it was in Ezra Miller's face, is the big eyes, right? Like, oh shit! Right? Like, he didn't even need to say anything. It was just... that oh shit moment where
and
you're
as
like...
far as we know, as far as, again, that post goes, I believe that's all Joss Whedon stuff. So,
oh, okay.
Which kind of makes sense. Is that your
That's
Flash
it.
talk?
That's it.
Okay, let's go.
I mean, I you know, parts I like, parts I didn't,
Yeah.
but, you know, it's a different Flash. Whatever. we'll move on.
Let's move on to Cyborg.
I have more to say about him.
'Cause I love Cyborg. Before this movie, I thought the costume looked really crappy. I was really worried in those early effects. I thought it looked real poor. But I
to be worried.
I love. I really thought they did a good job of Cyborg. They play him very straight. I liked. He's got a little depth of the character. Obviously, as we understand, a lot of stuff was cut out, but I thought they did a real good job with him. They play him very smart, which I appreciate. Him and Superman trying to kind of solve the mother box kind of crisis at the end there. Again, Teen Titans Go. We get the Booyah in, so that was a fun one for the fans.
Well, the thing is and I think this goes back to what Bryce was saying about character development. In that
there's a lot more for Cyborg.
There's not much more for Cyborg.
I disagree with that.
In this movie,
there's
Flash
a lot more.
and
It's
Cyborg
just not very good.
are more book smart than Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think there's a lot more backstory
there's
for Cyborg in there.
There is a fair amount. There is, but it's not as much as that really does anything significant. And the thing is he's the quarterback, superstar, smart kid, going to college, has somewhere to go. It has his life is set, and then the accident happens, right? And so that's Cyborg. That's why we get this character. It's more in lines of John's iteration of him from Justice League in the New 52. But I think that his character in this is like the conversation between him and Wonder Woman, where he's now coming back to the world after being separated from it because of what happened to him. Now, I would like to see a solo Cyborg movie where we get to see his origin more and develop things. And I was not so concerned, like I had concerns about his, the cybernetics, especially in those early trailers. But as I actually watched the movie, it develops as the movie goes. Like, it's very kind of rough in the beginning, and then he starts to evolve and morph. And it culminates at the end with the chest plate becoming kind of this permanent thing.
He gets his actual costume at the end, yeah.
So, as characters go, I liked the amount of development that they did for Cyborg. He is, and the little nods that they give to the funner side of Cyborg that we get, which we, the end with the very straight-faced booyah line. I can see why people wouldn't like the character, but for me, I enjoyed this interpretation.
I am flabbergasted at the Snickers at the end of the table. I don't know what you people are laughing about. Like, what's wrong with Cyborg in this movie? Like, I understand why you have problems with Flash, even though I totally disagree. I really don't understand with Cyborg.
I did not like this Cyborg. I'm a Perez Wolfman Cyborg guy, and he's a little bit more dynamic, but
and even then, I always thought he was the least interesting member on that team, let alone on the Justice League of all places.
Well, I mean, how many people here liked this Cyborg? Raise your hand.
You surprised me.
2?
Yeah,
let's put it that way.
3.
Well, but here's the way I look at it. You're not gonna get a traditional Teen Titans Cyborg anymore. Like, I wish you would, but you're not. What they're trying to do...
No. Whoa. I'm calling bullshit on that. That is your number one complaint with Thor 3 was they tried to mash Planet Hulk into this. That's bullshit. But now you like Cyborg because we're not going to get a Teen Titans...
We are not going to get the traditional Teen Titans Cyborg. We are going to get the Cyborg that we have had for the past...
6 years.
6 years,
This
7
is the
years, whatever.
The New 52.
Because they decided that in this day and age, Cyborg's powers and what he brings to the table is much more relevant than it was.
You mean that he's a minority?
There we go. There it is.
even the ability to interface with anything electronic in a world where we live in today where everything is electronic.
Yeah, like those mother boxes.
5.5 white people at this table agree it's because he's black that's why he's on the Justice League. I mean, let's not beat around the bush here.
Did you just single me out?
No, you said you're the half. You're half white.
You were by definition not singled out.
and this is where my problem with the character comes in.
Why was I singled out?
Of all the DC characters to put in that slot, Jon Stewart, Black Lightning. If you want diversity in the team, I get that. I just don't find
away from me.
You want to see a solo Cyborg movie of him hacking computers and shooting a missile out of his hand?
Not
sure.
I do not want to see a Cyborg
that was
solo
young
movie.
Beetle, though.
I'd rather see a Black Lightning.
Yeah.
I'd rather, you know what I mean? I'd rather John Stewart. I mean,
Makes
I'd
more
rather
sense.
see
His
it.
powers are
They're very valuable
unique-
today.
I wouldn't have minded
valuable
even John
addition
Stewart
to the
with before
team.
Green Lantern on this movie.
I mean, I understand what you're saying about like everything nowadays is electronic, but this is alien tech. Like they could have made it not electronic just as easily
But the
as
way
they made it like,
Okay.
Cyborg has it like a USB drive like in his butt. Like, of course he's going to be able to interface with a fucking mother box. Like what?
Classic Cyborg was more about hardware components. Modern Cyborg is more nanotech.
Correct.
And that nanotech basically opens up him to anything.
But like this is
I 100% agree with Charlie.
This is alien technology. Like, it could just as easily not be nanotech related. It could be fucking magic. Like, why? Because he is nanotech instead of microtech. Like, why does it have to be technologically related for it to be mother box interfacing? I'm just rambling words now. But
I just did not find him interesting. That's it. I mean, it just. But he didn't, like Kevin said, I didn't find him that interesting on the original Teen Titans. I didn't find him interesting on, but that's just it. I mean, it's he's a very.
Don't get me wrong.
Did you guys want a meatball party? Is that what you were saying?
like. There you go. I like Teen Titans Cyborg way more than Justice League Cyborg, but I thought he was a perfect fit for this movie. He could play up with Flash. He could stand side by side with Wonder Woman and Superman.
I wish they would have. I wish they would have played up his relationship with the Flash
a little bit more.
Yeah. I think then he would have been more interesting to me.
I think that goes back to what we've talked about on the edge of everything here. Is that there's stuff that's missing from this film that seems to be, especially from what you were saying from that Reddit post, is a lot of that character development, a lot of that stuff that would have added a better dynamic to the film. And after seeing BVS and then BVS the extended cut, I can believe that there's that stuff out there that does make this film a little bit better in the things that are what people are nitpicking about it.
I mean, dude, that's fair, but like this movie should carry its own weight and not be predicated on you guys having watched the extended cuts of all these other fucking terrible movies. Like, just because you have all this extra color on the Snyderverse doesn't mean that this movie's any better.
And that's what I said going into this. Despite all the problems with it, I am blown away at how much I enjoyed this movie. Because I just want to know how good the movie that I could have had is, because I wonder if it was
well, I mean, we
how
had the
much
same
better
thing
it
with
would
Suicide
be.
Squad had, 4 different cuts to it?
So, Kevin Tsujihara, I believe I'm pronouncing his last name correct. I don't have it up here. He's the head of Warner Brothers, and a lot of people are placing the blame on all this for him because whether you have Snyder or Whedon or any of the people other people involved, he's directly responsible for the editing and setting the tone for BVS. He demanded the edit of Suicide Squad when the trailer proved to be an extreme success and the movie was not cut like the trailer, so that's why they recut it. According to Patty Jenkins, he told her to get rid of the No Man's Land scene in Wonder Woman, that he didn't want that scene in the movie, and that's like the best scene in the movie. And he was responsible for a lot of the stuff in Justice League and bringing in Joss Whedon and changing stuff. So you can blame it on all these people, but if this guy at the top is the one that's actually kind of like, hey, I'm forcing these changes on the studio. You know, there's so many problems that are happening at this point. And despite all of that, the fact that even if we're getting a B- or C+ movie, I think that says a lot. There was a lot of potential here. And it comes down to the characters. So I want to move on to Aquaman.
No! God damn it! Quiet, leave me out!
You don't jump in. Jump in.
No, I want to, but all these motherfuckers jump in. All right. While on The Flash, while I felt like in this universe he should have been inspired by the heroes and wanting to become a hero, I feel like with Cyborg, I kind of wish we could have seen his athletic stuff and missing working within the team or, the competitive nature.
And it was cut out.
Yeah. But
we saw it in the trailer.
I kind of wish we seen it like him joining the Justice League as him coming back out open and he's part of a team again and enjoying life again, as opposed to being enclosed by himself.
I mean, we got a taste of that in that scene on the street with Wonder Woman, where she's telling him about how she's finally coming back, to the world after being gone, right? Because she had something taken from her. But I think
you do have a lot because of the characters in this movie, and this happens regularly. But you do have a lot of tell not show in this.
That's fine.
And to some point, I think it's okay. But in movies, you have to show not tell.
Yeah.
The other thing I liked was I actually quite enjoyed him in the jumpsuit or the hoodie look.
Yeah,
I kind of like that. And to be honest with you, Cyborg in the old days, I kind of thought he was very boring. I found him in New 52 very boring. And then when they announced that he was going to be in the movie and get his own solo movie that he'll probably never get, I was kind of disappointed. But watching the movie, I thought it kind of oddly worked. So I didn't hate him in the movie, which I thought I was going to hate him because but it actually worked for me.
Yeah, my only complaint going into the movie was I thought his costume didn't look great, and by the time the movie was halfway through, I was like, "Oh, I don't fucking care. His costume looks fine. I don't care anymore." Like
it evolved throughout the entire thing.
I thought it looked better. Yeah, way better.
The changing of the costume and the learning of the powers as we go on, that was one touch that was nice with that character.
Yeah.
Whether you like him or not as a character, you have to give them some credit for planning that out and looking at that and making that part of his growth. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. So here's where I jump the table and strangle Bryce with a cord, recording cable cord.
We got 2 characters left?
Yeah. Well, 3, technically. Remember, there was a villain in this movie, too.
That's right.
Was there?
Okay, if you didn't like Aquaman, there's the door. It's right behind you. Lock it on the way out. Because fuck off. Aquaman was awesome in this.
You mean Namor with long hair?
So awesome. So awesome. So awesome.
Would you say that you're surprised?
And I
you
love
surprised
Aquaman.
yourself with how much you liked it? Aquaman?
I love OG Aquaman. I love straight, clean-cut Aquaman. I love this version of Aquaman, though.
Interesting.
He was great.
With no irony at all, Ryan.
No irony.
On what you were just saying. No. I'll jump in with you.
Okay.
I'm not saying this sarcastically. This is from the bottom of my heart. I love orange shirt riding a giant seahorse Aquaman.
Sure.
For real.
Sure.
Still as an adult, as a kid,
Me too.
always. I had a birthday cake with that figure on it.
Now,
okay?
Would you get it tattooed on your ass?
No.
Not funny.
I think my biggest problem with this character, you can disagree, is that he didn't really get to do any Aquaman stuff.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
The movie was set up. I just knew this was coming, and I'm not saying this as I'm glad they surprised me. I'm not glad they surprised me. Where Bruce Wayne says to him, "So is it true you talk to fish?" Ha ha ha. Like as a joke.
Fucking God, yeah.
You know it's set up for later when the giant shark comes out and bites Steppenwolf's arm off at a key moment, and he goes, "Oh shit, it's not a joke. I see." And it didn't happen. Nothing happened. He stopped the flood in the sewer with his 5 dent, but he didn't do any other Aquaman thing. He was just a brawler that any character could have just leaped in and thrown punches and stabbed somebody.
Yeah.
That was my problem.
That's
more than the
brilliant.
portrayal.
That would have been cool.
But don't you feel like Aquaman is normally... Because when the Justice League does half the stuff they do in comic books, they're not near water, and that's what he is. He's a brawler.
Yeah.
So I saw that, and yeah, you're going to throw him in the water, and yeah, I want a shark to bite somebody's hand off. But you saw a little bit. You saw him be able to fight in the water with Steppenwolf, but I feel like also he should have been. They could have played him up a little bit more in that venue. I loved. Is that Tula?
Mira.
Mira. I loved Mira.
Oh yeah.
I loved the Mira character. I thought
I'm so excited.
She was really good.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
That whole scene felt like there was 10 minutes chopped out of that.
Yeah.
It needed to be 10 minutes.
The
longer.
Volko stuff got completely cut out. He's again from that same post, and this was talked about before any of this happened. He goes down to Atlantis, hangs out with Volko.
It's a character in Atlantis.
Yeah, comes back. It's who was it?
Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe. And he's in the Aquaman movie too.
He's Aquaman's most.
And then he comes.
advisor.
Yeah, then he comes back to meet up with
that
Mara.
sounds like an evil advisor.
Yeah, that scene just felt really oddly paced and structured, as if it had been snipped severely.
Yeah.
but I also think in a weird way it did exactly what I hoped it would do. It made me excited for a Aquaman movie with more Atlantis.
Yeah.
Well, what I thought was really
plus the Lord of the Rings.
What I thought was really funny about, especially the Aquaman Mera stuff, is we're underwater, and then it's like, how are they going to have a conversation? And then it's just, oh yeah, Mera, who uses her powers, is the one that creates the bubble.
So as I understand
so we can have a conversation.
Wait, Brock is still going Higgins.
Versus having
James Wan, right? The director of Aquaman said, no, they just straight up talk underwater in Aquaman, in the Aquaman movie. Like, they're not going to do anything
well,
like that.
Well, the way I figured was she didn't want the other Atlanteans to listen to them.
Possibly, yeah.
But but I think to what you were saying in that we didn't see him use powers, right? Whereas we see Mera use more powers than he does.
Yeah. But Aquaman, again, from the comics, she controls water. Aquaman doesn't control water. That whole thing with the trident, I don't even know what. I mean, that's not an Aquaman thing. That's the trident, I guess.
It's a King of Atlantis thing.
Yeah. Aquaman.
It's not a trident.
Because he didn't have his damn
seahorse.
Yeah.
Talks to fish. But, Mera, she's from Zebel. I mean, she's like part of this, like, they're a whole separate race from Atlanteans, and they can control water. Kind of like Garth, Aqualad, too. He control, like, hard water and stuff. Not hard water. He can make water, like, hard. Kinky. And, like, use it as, like, weapons and stuff. So, but
Bryce is locked and loaded.
It's an F.
No,
you hate him. I know. Tell me how much you hate him.
No,
it's
you're
so
such
bad.
a fucking troll about this shit. I did not hate
hair.
him.
Why does he have long hair underwater? It slows down his swimming speed. I should be coming from Scott.
The professional is here.
I mean, yeah.
Leanne did ask why he didn't take his pants off in that scene as well.
He had obviously not been tapering. I mean, let's be real. He was exhausted.
He was shaved down, though.
Except for his hair. And those contact lenses that he had probably slowed him down.
They're not tattoos, they're real scales.
A microsecond. So my thing with Aquaman, so I love Jason Momoa and I love Aquaman as a badass. I love Aquaman in the comics when he's a badass. I just kind of feel that that my badass Aquaman is the fucking king of Atlantis, and so my Aquaman is a fucking badass guy, but he's a badass, with some sort of code of honor. He's not the badass that like wants to, come home and bang your daughter because he's like covered in tattoos and super jacked, and she brings him home and you're like, what the fuck is this guy? Like,
at least it doesn't say damaged Terrace's forehead, right?
Well, it might as well have, because it was like, this is the fucking king of Atlantis, this bad boy.
But he's not.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
He hasn't gone back to Atlantis. He's a younger Aquaman.
Wait, isn't he the king of Atlantis, though?
No.
It sounds like he's
I thought he was
rejected.
banned. Yeah, or rejected.
No, he
because
rejected
he came back
his
and they were like,
heritage,
why are you here?
and they were kind of doing the, well, are you ready to step up and take responsibility?
Oh, okay, that makes more sense.
And he said no. So he hasn't been in Atlantis for a while at this point. He went down, they kicked him out, or he left.
Yeah, he goes and helps save people in boats, and then gets
in little tiny
bottle
cities.
of fucking booze, drinks it, smashes.
With the whole the boozing it up. Like, I understand. I think that there's just a way to make him a badass without making him a quote unquote bad boy with the elements that they did. Look, I did not hate him. I just thought that they could have made him a badass without making him a quote unquote bad boy that teenage girls have posters on the wall.
Are you scared?
Which you and these teenage girls certainly, no doubt, have posters of him on the wall. But
don't forget Toby.
I thought that there was.
I have it in this bathroom.
I also was mildly. I mean, again, these are all nitpicks because by and large, begrudgingly, I liked Aquaman. He was probably my third or fourth favorite character of this movie. Probably third favorite character of this movie. So I'm not shitting on him entirely. I was miffed, slight nitpick, that he literally spends more time in the air in this movie than in the water, because that happens. So that's annoying. And
it's like flying, just
don't you
swimming.
watch Robot Chicken? He's never in the water.
And that's another thing. Like, I feel like, if you're going to have Aquaman and not Green Lantern in your fucking Justice League movie, can we have some water elements in this movie other than this crazy random forced sewer scene and this fucking random shark that comes and attacks the terrible villain? Like, there was no water in this movie. Why is Bruce Wayne, this fucking master planner, like, oh yeah, you know who we should get? we should get Aquaman. And by the way, Bruce Wayne, who's the master planner, goes to fucking Reykjavik to find this Aquaman and addresses this village of old people. And then the one extreme badass with his leather jacket in the corner, he's like, I'm looking for a man. Oh no, he doesn't talk like that when he's not dressed as Batman. I'm looking for a man who talks to fish. Which one of you octogenarians could it fucking be? Oh, is it the 20-something-year-old jacked dude that could fucking, like, bench press me with one arm? Like, what the fuck, Bruce
Wayne?
Wayne?
Oddly like that cave painting on the wall over there.
And then there's some...
he already knew who he was. He was just... I don't know why he was playing coy, but he was totally playing coy.
Yeah, because remember, he had the whole video of him.
He had the footage. So what the fuck is he addressing the Council of Old People?
And he called him by name.
I kind of liked it.
Yeah, so why the fuck?
He already knew who he was.
Exactly. So what the fuck? Okay. So you and Higgins both don't know why, but my argument is invalid.
Like backstory that he's helping this fucking village.
You guys are nitpicking. You guys are nitpicking about the fact that he's talking to a village of old people when he fucking rode a horse to a coastal town when he has enough money to either boat or fly the fuck in.
What horse?
You're worried about the wife.
Bruce Wayne?
Yeah.
I don't remember driving a horse in.
Fucking loves him more than
But
the other thing is, and I don't know the general specifics of this, but they made it sound like this village was unreachable by plane or boat.
Yeah.
And that's why they were cut off.
Were there boats in the fucking harbor?
Because they're those frozen ice blocks that fucking say that in the movie.
Okay, let it go. Frozen joke. You're welcome. Okay. But anyway, so
yeah, you can.
Okay. Look, what I'm saying is Aquaman. There's a lot of problems, but they're all nitpicks.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
He was awesome. He was badass. I feel like he was fucking Lobo, not Aquaman. But I mean, whatever. Call him Aquaman. That's fine. He was a badass. That's fine. They have basically no water scenes other than the shoehorned in ones in the entire movie.
Oh yeah, and also no shark attacks anyone. We wanted a shark to attack someone.
Yeah, especially that terrible, terrible villain. Is that where we're going next?
Well, Toby. We don't want to skip Toby.
Well, I kind of wanted you to skip Toby so he gets angry at you again.
That's all right. You can skip.
No, what do you like?
No, I thought I was gonna like him more.
Yeah.
I was very, very excited for Momoa Aquaman, and I thought there would be more Momoa Aquaman. But no, he was fun. Move on.
Okay.
Where are we at?
I mean,
we're going to villain now.
Well, do we have to talk about Wonder Woman? I mean, everyone
She's fucking awesome.
Flawless.
She's Wonder Woman.
Flawless.
She's the best thing.
I got one comment.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the scene.
And I have
The
a comment.
scene.
I have a comment from Leanne too
Okay.
that I mentioned here as well.
that we didn't need.
The scene
I
that
actually have more issues. I'm sorry.
Okay. No,
with
no.
the bad guys in that scene because
Yeah.
they were there for no fucking reason.
yeah, the scene of the terrorists at the museum at the beginning.
Okay.
Which is obviously there to remind everybody how cool Wonder Woman is,
Hell yeah.
in case we forgot her movie from 3 months earlier. Okay, that's fine.
Hey, it's been 70 years.
I wish two things. A, I wish that scene was somehow more connected to the story, because they seem to give those terrorists a lot of motivation and a lot of backstory that just kind of went nowhere. And B, and this is what I was telling these guys the other night, was this is where real life kind of stomps on my ability to get lost in the movie. Is I just don't want to see a guy with a machine gun shooting at little kids who are cowering as hostages. I just don't want to see that. I think there's a lot of cool ways you could bring Wonder Woman in and have her kick ass if you want to show that. And that's not a fault of the filmmakers. That's on me. That's the real world bleeding into fiction. And that just took me out of that scene completely, and I wasn't back into the movie until that scene was done.
Did you... Yeah, I mean, that's... I can see that. But I did like the replay when they asked her what she did last weekend. She's like, it's just not that interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah, no, I like that too.
And I'm watching her going, God, you're the best.
Now, I know what you're talking about, and it's not to take away anything from your view, but I actually kind of enjoyed, not necessarily shooting at the kids. It doesn't have to be kids. I enjoyed the punching away the bullets.
Oh yeah.
From a machine gun, because we've seen the normal stuff. This was kind of the next level of it, whether you like it or not, but I kind of like that. But my main problem was with the bad guys. He was shooting, like when Wonder Woman threw the bomb off, the next logical step for him is not to run away or shoot at her, but is to take a machine gun and start shooting people. Like, my issue was more with the bad guys in that scene than anything else.
Yeah. And is what
generic bad guys doing generic bad guy stuff just there to have Wonder Woman kick their ass? Like I don't know what the complaints were.
Didn't they say they
my
had
complaint
multiple
is
bombs
this.
going off?
Wait, hold on. Charlie's complaining.
I actually hate that scene.
Oh!
And a large part of the reason why I hate that scene is Wonder Woman is not the Flash. That
exactly.
is not a power she has.
Oh no. Oh yeah, she does. She absolutely can. The bullets and bracelets and that speed? Yeah. Totally, 100%.
The bullets and bracers, if they're firing at her, absolutely. Being able to dart across a room, grab the thing, jump up, toss it up in the air, jump back down, as the thing is literally counting down.
Yeah, that countdown.
It was a 20-second countdown that was like several minutes long. Yeah. She's the fucking Flash. Why wasn't she included in the race at the end?
If she came back down and he fired directly at her and she blocked every single one, would have had no problem with it.
I mean, just the power of speed of Hermes, right? I mean, she's fast. They've always portrayed her like this. This is totally comic accurate.
They have never portrayed her at like Flash level, being able to
when she needs to.
No, Higgins. When Charlie disagrees with you, you're just wrong.
Okay. Well,
I loved seeing it. It was great. I loved the speed and the little spin with the image was very good. Whether you question the speed or not, you have to respect the image of the filmmakers.
I mean, I think the scene as a whole was crafted and done 75% well. The rest of it, like the nitpicky stuff. Well, no, I mean, seriously, it doesn't need to be kids. They're in a fucking bank. Like, why is there all of these kids in a bank?
It's a museum. Weren't they in a museum?
Yeah, it was a museum.
Is it a museum or was it the? I couldn't even tell what the fuck it. Well, the
bad guys were not there to rob it, so it was not a bank.
They're there to blow it up.
All right, so Mr. Higgins, you say that you surprised yourself with how much you liked this movie, which, by the way, you are literally the only one that was surprised that you liked this movie so much.
No, I'm surprised that despite all the...
you loved this movie.
I do.
No, you said earlier that you surprised yourself with how much you liked this movie, but it's like you're the only one that was surprised. And so while you give Wonder Woman an A, you give Man of Steel an A, you give this movie an A.
I do.
I gotta kind of wonder: is there anything other than is there anything other than an A that a DC movie will ever be?
Well, yes,
because you are 3 out of 4.
Green Lantern.
Well, hold on.
You are 3 out of 4 A's for the DC Extended Universe, and you got to wonder.
3 out of 5. And Bryce, if you use Twitter the way Twitter was supposed to be, and not just reply to Casey when he's yelling at me and yelling at us on Twitter, if you actually used Twitter and read my Twitter like you should, you'd have seen that I started posting my DC Cinematic Universe.
Oh, you're all wrong on that one.
Because now we have a list up there because we have 5 movies. So I have Justice League as number 1. Oh, someone apparently needs to lock that door so Lane just doesn't wander in. I've Justice League at number 1 at an A.
Gets up to do it.
Wonder Woman number 2 at an A. And Man of Steel number 3 at an A. BVS number 4 at a B+. Now A-. A- if you go director's cut, but let's just say B+ because theatrical cut. I make that note. And B for Suicide Squad. Now Green Lantern would also get a B because I did like Green Lantern a whole lot.
Suicide Squad extended cut, but you haven't seen it.
I actually never watched the extended cut. Yeah, I really need to. I have it. I really need to watch it.
3 out of 5 DC Extended Universe movies have an A
basically
in your book.
Yeah, I basically love them. Yeah.
And
so now, Bryce,
do you take yourself seriously?
Bryce, I have a question.
Yeah, I'm ready.
There have been 22 Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, as far as I know, and about 3 have I believe that's right. I believe 22 is the number. 3 have villains worth actually talking about. So tell me, Bryce,
is this the part where you say, "Oh, but what about Marvel?"
Why? Oh, but what about Marvel? Why was Steppenwolf so bad? Fan of all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movie villains.
Good question. Let me answer your question with a question. Is your reasoning for why Steppenwolf might not be so bad because I like Marvel movies, villains? Is that your argument right now?
I just want to know what a Marvel Cinematic Universe fan thinks of Steppenwolf, a perfectly average villain.
Sure, Mr. Trump. So what you're saying is that you want to know why this DC villain is bad by asking me to tell you why Marvel villains are bad. Is that correct?
No, I think you like shitty Marvel villains that are totally mediocre.
We just answer the fucking goddamn question?
And so Steppenwolf is as mediocre as any of the perfectly mediocre Marvel villains that people hate, but they hate this one more because it's a DC villain.
Wait, hold on.
So it's a question of hypocrisy, which you are certainly not guilty of.
On the Marvel end, of course. Yes.
All right. Exactly. Who wants me to shut off their mic so we can actually continue with this conversation?
I control the mics.
Ryan just said that you completely missed, Bryce, that Ryan said this was a mediocre villain. You missed that.
Wow.
Well, here's the thing.
You missed that.
Holy shit.
You've heard me talk about the Marvel movies at length in the past. You have a couple of really good villains. You have a couple terrible villains. And those tend to fall in the movies that I dislike the most. The vast majority of the Marvel Cinematic Movie villains are completely average. And people love to complain about Thor Dark World, Malekith. Malekith is a perfectly average Marvel villain, as average as any of them gets. Steppenwolf,
pretty much the same shit.
He's no Loki. He's no Baron Zemo, though. He is right there in the middle.
Oh my god,
he is right there in the middle as an average Marvel.
Baron Zemo isn't the fucking villain. The whole point of that movie is that
Iron Man's the villain. He's
oh
no Mandarin. How about that? Okay, he's a perfectly average villain. But Bryce, tell me why he's the worst villain of all time.
I'm going to take this away from Bryce right now because I'm going to.
Well, Bryce is chewing, so
plus he's chewing.
Yeah.
He was a fine villain. He was a bad guy that wanted to take over the world.
Thank you. And
because he wants to take over the world.
Now,
because Mother told him to.
I have my second favorite scene of any comic movie ever.
Let me guess.
The flashback.
It's the flashback.
Oh, God.
He literally said, "Let me guess," and you said, "The flashback."
There was only one choice.
There's only one choice.
No,
and
you
the
have
reason why
the Atlanteans.
The reason why he likes it. Pause.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Hold on. Is because of the Green Lantern.
No, I think
Boom.
I think it's because it looks
Bazinga got it.
Because it looks like a lot like those old like the flashback.
No, it's the Green Lantern.
It's the Atlanteans. It's the Amazons. It's Zeus, Ares, and Artemis, and a fucking Green Lantern.
I think there weren't there two Green Lanterns?
I think it was two.
I thought I saw two flying.
Oh, did one more take off? I only saw the one.
Well, I thought one was fighting. One died.
That was cool. And by that, I mean the Green Lantern. Everything else I liked better when it was called Fellowship of the Ring.
Get on.
And I especially like these three mother boxes, no matter what, you guys. Look, we've drawn from the Guardians of the Universe, Atlantis, Paradise Island, Mount Olympus, for God's sake, pun intended.
But
no matter what, you cannot let these three mother boxes join together. So here's the plan. We're going to hide them all on Earth. That way, they're kept far, but there's no chance it will ever happen. How about one on Oa, one at the top of Mount Olympus, one at Atlantis? Then you have a true cosmic story.
But do you feel so? At that time, Atlantis hadn't sunk.
No, not yet. I don't think so.
No, it was not undersea. But
again,
the realm of man dug a hole and put the box
randomly, and then put the box in the hole.
Yeah, that's going to keep anybody away from it.
Anyway, so this villain, I will not go to bat for Malekith. I think that he was just as bad as Malekith, and you will not find a podcast with me. No, you will not find a podcast with me defending the quality of the villain that is Malekith. I am also not saying that this is the worst villain that the DC Universe has had. I'm trying to think. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's the worst because there's a small sample size.
The Enchantress.
I mean, that's fucking.
Hey, she knew how to sexy walk.
Oh god, that was terrible. Okay, that's probably
the any Cloud villain.
Look, so much of my nitpicks and hate for this movie. And by the way, I say hate for this movie. Like, there's not much / any hate for this movie. It was a meh movie, but I'm just so angry because I expected more. I really thought this is the first fucking the Justice League of America is coming to the fucking big screen with a multi-$100 million fucking budget, and it can't even hit expectations. Like, what What the fuck? How are you not expecting more from your childhood heroes you spent your whole fucking life growing up, and they're gonna, finally be in a movie together, and there's just more like, do you bleed? And fucking Barry Allen.
Oh, that do you bleed line was great. That was so good.
It was fucking so cringe. Do you take yourself seriously?
Oh, it was so funny. It's a callback to the last movie.
Does that make it funny or fucking terrible?
No, it's really funny.
No, dude, it was not funny at all. So, look, you have your whole life looking forward to this awesome culmination of your childhood heroes finally in a movie together for the first time ever, and it's like, okay, I
loved it.
Honest question.
I loved it.
Honest question. Did you not expect more from this movie or want more from this movie? Seriously.
No.
Expect and want are two different things.
Sure, then answer fucking both separately.
Expect? No. It was better than I expected because I assumed there was going to be so many problems.
Yeah, because of fucking lowered expectations. I guess that is different. But okay, how about want? Did you want it to be better, Higgins?
There is no comic movie that is good as I have wanted it to be, with the exception of Dark Knight.
What about fucking Avengers? Avengers was a fucking amazing movie.
Sure, but it's not Dark Knight. But it's not the best movie ever made. It's not The Godfather. It's not Schindler's List. It's, when I say Justice League is an A, I don't mean it is the highest watermark of cinematic quality that has ever been put to celluloid.
What grade would you fucking give that?
These are all different things, right?
Okay.
When I think of
Higgins has different lists.
When I think of the Marvel movies, what I've come to expect and want and get from the Marvel movies, Winter Soldier is the best that they've done. I think by far the difference between the A+ and A on the Marvel side is still pretty substantial. I think Winter Soldier is a fucking incredible movie.
Yeah.
I don't think we've had that with the DC movies yet. We have not had that A+.
So we've had 3 out of 5 A's, but no A+.
But again, I really like those movies. I loved Man of Steel, I loved Wonder Woman, and I love this. We have not had what I think that perfect DC movie is yet, but we've had a few that I come really close. They're really fun. They're enjoyable. They're the characters I recognize. They're the characters I know. They're a little different in certain situations, sure, of course, but it hits a lot of those highs that I like. I don't mind that they do something different with them. As you know, my problem with the more recent Marvel movies is that they've gone either too far off into the comedy stuff, or they've played it way too safe. If Doctor Strange was the first Marvel movie to come out, it probably would have been one of my favorites, but it's just the same thing that they've done. So I like that DC has tried a few different things. They haven't quite hit their mark yet, but commercially, and I understand that despite being successful, there's still problems with these movies, and I wish I didn't read Hollywood Reporter or Bleeding Cool or Twitter or any of this. I wish I didn't know any of this stuff and I could just go and enjoy the movie, but that's just not the world I live in. I do know the problems that these movies have. I understand this movie has something like a $450 million production and advertising budget, and I hate thinking that when I see the Friday box office numbers that this movie's done, this movie's a failure. I realize this, and I hate the fact that I have to live in this world where I understand these things. I wish I could just go in and say, this movie's fucking incredible, or this sucks, and move on with my life. But I've decided to look into these movies.
So you want to be 10 again?
Well, no, plenty of people do. But Scott doesn't pay attention to this stuff,
so
right?
you don't subscribe to the fact that, the discrepancy, in budget versus overall box office draw means, indicates the quality of the movie versus what people expected versus what they wanted.
Oh, Charlie, here we go.
Okay, were you not paying attention when I said I fucking hate the narrative the internet creates?
I mean, it's hard to not notice you. You're giant.
Squash Bryce.
Like a bug.
He fucking
because that's exactly what's happening. It's not really a matter of was this good or bad at this point. It's a whole thing of look at how big a failure it is. That's going to be the story.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
That is exactly what's happening right now.
No, what I'm saying is that the returns versus budget. Sure, you don't like it because of the narrative or whatever. I'm just saying that that's a byproduct of what I'm feeling, which is that this fucking movie should have been better, and we deserve better as fans of. Because, by the way, even though I fucking troll with Higgins all the fucking time, I fucking love DC Comics. even though that's not the narrative that's painted in this podcast normally. But those Batman movies, the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, there's fucking no better Batman movies except for the very first Michael Keaton one. Like, I fucking love... And the first Superman movie, like, I do love good DC movies, and I don't think, other than Wonder Woman, that we've had one in this new extended universe. And by the way, I fucking loved Wonder Woman. I just expect more and want more from the fucking current crop of DC movies. And we're not getting it, and, like, we have 3 out of 5 A's from the podcast leader, and I think that's fucking disingenuous.
But I have... what am I at, 5 or 6 A's on the Marvel side? Like, the vast majority
out of fucking like 20 whatever.
The vast majority.
Where's your
are
curve?
A's and B's.
You have no curve. No curve.
The vast majority are
Curveless.
A's and B's.
He is a dude, though.
Well, no, it is curved. You have to curve his. So if you take Ryan, you have your DC movies. Rank them, please.
My DC movies?
Oh yeah. Go.
Justice League, Wonder Woman.
Wait. Justice League you have above Wonder Woman?
The three of them.
How do you even have credibility?
The three of them.
He was gonna give you some.
Go ahead.
I had to do this with the Marvel ones.
Yeah.
While they have the same grade, I have to put them in order within that grade. So Justice League, Wonder Woman, Man of Steel, BVS, Suicide Squad.
So Suicide Squad F.
Yeah.
This is his curve. Justice League A, and that's the curve.
No, my argument is the hypocrisy that he is like putting the bottom of his curve at a fucking like B+ or something like that.
B.
Yeah. Put on your rose-colored glasses.
So how many Marvel movies are Fs? Marvel Cinematic movies.
How many are Fs?
I don't like
One.
I don't like to give Fs to anything.
No, Captain America 1.
Iron Man 3.
Oh.
Yep.
What the?
No, I can't wait into this.
Oh no, that's a different podcast.
It's a different podcast.
Look.
Different podcast.
For another hour.
Yeah.
No.
Bryce just lost everyone that was ever on his side with that.
I
podcast.
don't think that I do, because look, I will unlike you, I will acknowledge that, like, look, a lot of people don't agree with, like, my curve. I have certainly a different list than a lot of people. A lot of people liked this movie. I don't understand, or sorry,
I don't
a lot of people.
understand either, but
a lot of people
it's
loved this movie, I should say, and I don't understand. Like, so look, I understand if people don't like my curve of the Marvel movies, but at least I'm going to say that there's a fucking realistic curve of my Marvel movies.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, well,
we're all the same except for Wonder Woman.
yeah.
Nobody really picked up on Steppenwolf.
Yeah,
And I don't know if that's because there's just nothing to say.
There's not really much to say. I have a big axe. I'm going to swing it. I want to destroy the world.
He's
I need to
Steppenwolf?
put these 3
Yeah,
boxes
he looked a little
together to make that
video
happen.
gamey at times.
There's really no explanation to what
Sometimes.
these mother
little
boxes
video
really,
gamey,
really,
but it
really
really
are.
gave.
Yeah, different than the classic mother boxes. They're obviously very different items, but I thought it
Where
was
do those
fine.
tubes come from?
That's
boom
that's
tube.
that's
The boom tube, yeah.
Fucking.
I know it's a boom tube, but it's normally attached to the mother box.
Again, these are very different things. I mean, in the comics, the mother boxes are tremendous sources of power, but they're basically used like a cell phone in the DC universe, right? This is clearly like these mother boxes were these terraforming devices that when he comes to people, I don't know, I think it sounds awesome. To the best of his knowledge, he's defeated and those mother boxes are destroyed. And so he's like, well, fuck, I guess I'm out. I'm going to go back and be Darkseid's lackey for 5,000 years. And when the mother boxes are reawoken, he's like, whoa, I can go back and get my groove back and go back and kick some ass.
I think my problem was in the pantheon of DC villains who want to terraform Earth, which is now 2 movies. I understood why Zod was doing it.
Yeah.
This just seemed like I want to.
Didn't Enchantress kind of want to do that too?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
3 terraforms.
But
60%.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so I just thought maybe we could have had. I don't really think there were enough cutaways to that cowering Russian family as the mother box was. Like I felt like I could have used maybe 10 more.
So that's
scenes
all
of that.
Whedon, from what I understand.
So
that's all
Whedon. I'm thinking.
Of course it is. Of course
I see the cutaway to this family, and I'm like, okay, is the little boy gonna be somebody?
I
in
thought the mother
future
box was
movies?
under their house the entire
Is
time.
it gonna be what's gonna happen? Like I thought they were
No,
gonna
that-
be something bigger. than
Yeah, but I literally thought the mother box was under their house the entire time.
It was funny when the little girl gets out the can of bug spray.
There was
Yeah,
fucking,
but that's like
20 cutaways to that family.
that is
Yeah, no, that,
the
not going to disagree. A little weird.
the bug spray itself. I mean, that's like one of those long lead ups to a terrible punchline. Do you know what I mean?
But I guess my thing was set aside Steppenwolf as a character. because there wasn't really one. As a plan, I, as an audience member, was going, why am I, like, what is he hoping to accomplish?
Hoping to come back to Earth and...
Yeah, I get that, and make tentacles grow out of the Earth.
And destroy it like he failed to the first time.
It just felt like a video game boss.
Or Darkseid.
Well, okay.
Well, that's another thing. Why couldn't they... I mean, considering they want to have a successful extended universe and they want to have a trilogy of these movies has been the plan, correct? Yes.
There was 2 back-to-back, but who knows now?
Okay, anyway. Obviously, Darkseid is sort of the long game here, right?
So, do we want to cover
more
Steppenwolf?
shit you read about on the internet?
No. Do we want to cover Steppenwolf before we cover the end credits? And then I want to talk about that.
No, I was just going to say that, like, there's so much lore contained in Apocalypse and Darkseid, and Steppenwolf just sort of throws it away, and it's not really addressed.
So I have,
and that for me is the one part of this
what
movie.
You loved, yeah.
Well, the reality is, this is where I kind of feel like the movie does have a problem, because it gave me, as a big comic book fan, big Fourth World fan, just enough information to kind of nod that, yes, this is all connected to the stuff that I love.
I did like King Kirby's credit in the credits.
I don't see how anybody else would get that who isn't well-versed. Now, mind you, as we've kind of...
Generic villain, generic monster villain.
As we've all kind of talked about on various fronts, getting to the Fourth World is really complicated and would go over most people's heads if you over-explained it. So I don't blame them for kind of wanting to acknowledge it, but not... It would take a 2-hour movie just to talk about the new god and Apocalypse.
Here's what I think. Here's honestly what I think happened and will happen. This is not from the internet. This isn't from the Reddit post. This is just purely me. Batman v Superman is in production. It's about to come out. If there's talk that DC was thinking this was going to like be a huge hit and it was going to like an A+ and reviewers were going to love it. Everything that I've read in previous said that Warner Brothers was blindsided by the reviews. They had 2 Justice League movies planned. Steppenwolf in the first movie to introduce Darkseid, and Darkseid in the second movie. BVS hits. It's a critical failure. It does not go to expectations financially. They're already in production on Justice League by the time BVS was come out. They're already in pre-production, right? I mean, Justice League was already... This was their cinematic universe, right? Ball was already rolling on Justice League. Jeff Johns is brought in, all this stuff. I have to assume what happened at this point is they said, we have Thanos coming in Avengers. It's a little too close to that. We're over budget on BVS. It didn't make us as much money as we wanted. We should pull back from this. We're already invested in Justice League, but we need to do something different. And let's talk about that post-credit scene now.
Well, quickly, just 30 seconds.
Yeah.
One problem that they're running into or going to run into, is that Thanos was created, and Jim Starlin will say this is not just me talking shit about somebody. Thanos was created to be Marvel's Darkseid.
Right.
But because Marvel got there first in the movies, Darkseid is going to look like a knockoff of Thanos. That's why I kind of questioned why even introduce Steppenwolf.
And that's exactly what I'm saying.
Well, okay, so
Thanos is not Darkseid is not happening at this point.
Well, this is the thing. Charlie was talking about how it's very complicated to get into all the Fourth World stuff, so on and so forth. But what we're forgetting is Johns' Justice League first arc from New 52 is basically the same story of Darkseid coming down to take over the world. This is the thing. They took
that's
Darkseid,
to an established comic audience, though.
But the thing is they took out. But that's what he does. He goes to a world to terraform it and make it a new apocalypse. But the thing is you have it. It was Darkseid again initially, and they're like, "Oh no, maybe it's too close. We can't do that." So what do? They took Steppenwolf and shoved him in there.
No. Everything that I understood, Steppenwolf was always going to be the villain.
He's like the Herald.
He was the Herald, right. And Darkseid was the second movie. This was supposed to be 2019 or 2018, 2019, or 2017, 2018. They were supposed to be back-to-back. Well, all this stuff got thrown to the side. So how do you fix that? How do you stop a $450 million movie? How do you get rid of the big giant... You have BVS.
Make it 4 hours.
You have Batman v Superman. You have Suicide Squad, and you have Justice League with a big CG monster. You have all the special effects. How do you do that with an all-human cast with less special effects, bigger name power, easier characters to explain to people, easier powers to explain to people? So that end credit scene, I would have bet every penny I had that it was a Darkseid before it started. Then I'm like, holy fuck, it's Deathstroke and Lex Luthor. Oh my god, they're making the Justice League.
Legion of Doom.
I don't even care about Darkseid anymore, right? Well, this is what they're. So this is the setup now. The setup is we're gonna forget about Darkseid. When we're 7 to 8 movies in and they're super successful and we have the budget and we have the fans, then we can do Darkseid. It's not happening. Darkseid's gone. Darkseid is completely off the table. We now have a couple of things happening. We have Aquaman, Wonder Woman 2, and
Black
we have
Manta,
Shazam.
Cheetah, Black
right.
Adam.
So not
Justice League.
So we don't have. So we have an ability here to pull a reverse Nick Fury, and every movie introduce a villain that can now show up as an Injustice League member.
Yep.
And I think this is a way better idea than Darkseid. It gets him away from the big supernatural stuff and the crazy cosmic stuff. Gets him away from the world-ending stuff, away from the giant CG monster. And I firmly believe that the day before BVS came out, Darkseid was still on the table. And they ripped him out and they said, we have to do something different and change his direction. I am 100% convinced now.
Also,
that
this way you prolong these movies' careers a lot longer. You finish all of that, then you still have Darkseid after that.
If you want to, right. In 2030, you can do Darkseid. By Thanos is long gone by that point, right? Yeah. I mean, I firmly believe this is the case. That after credit scene was so good. Both of them. The Flash race. That was a Whedon thing. It was thrown in for the fans, probably because they're like, well, fuck, we're just going to do this because why not? Because it's fun, right? Yeah.
I got to say that Lex Luthor showing back up and talking like Lex Luthor Zuckerberg style gives me shivers again.
Yep.
Give me reminders of why I don't like BVS. I'm sorry.
Do you really think he was that same level?
I cannot stand him as Lex.
I love him. I thought he was just way
if he
toned
was
down, though.
On a 9 bad level, he maybe would be on an 8.5, but he was still as bad. So, yes, I still think he's just as bad. Sorry.
I actually do agree with you on both of those points. Both of those after credit scenes I thought were fucking incredible, and I would love if they would do a Legion of Doom or Legion of fucking anti-heroes. Thank you. That's right. Yeah.
All applicable terms.
Yeah. That
a big spaceship with
skull.
Big Darth Vader looking head
comes out of the swamp. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, no, I loved it.
They could be in Bel Rev, right? I mean, they could be in swamps of Louisiana, and they could have the Suicide Squad versus the Injustice League.
Yeah, I absolutely loved both of those after credit scenes. Those were like some of the other than I loved the not the whole Wonder Woman intro scene, but Wonder Woman in general was great. But absolutely loved the end credit scenes.
So should we take a moment here and pour one out as Bryce could appreciate for the 2007, I want to say it was, George Miller Justice League movie? For those of you who enjoyed Mad Max Fury Road, that was the George Miller project that was made because they pulled the plug on his Justice League movie at almost literally the last minute. Yeah. That had sets built, that had a cast.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. John Stewart was going to be in that.
Some really, really cool, what's it called, storyboards came out on here. They look fantastic.
Well, he's amazing.
Yeah. I have a feeling they could get him now.
Warner Brothers has been always
that
weird.
Would be sweet.
Okay, wait. I do have to say, like, I love all this thinking about the Injustice League and like this is what they're going to anti-Nick Fury, this the mother, and it's all going to like work out so well, and it's this perfect plan that you have.
Who knows? Of course, right?
Do you with the way that Warner Brothers? I mean, I guess they're all A's, so how could it go wrong? But like, do you honestly trust Warner Brothers to get this right as it is in your head?
I trust Jeff Johns. It's where all the trust has to go now.
That's a good trust.
Okay.
That's a good trust.
So he literally has no moves under his belt, but
Green Lantern,
all trust is in Jeff Johns.
I mean, he's been Wonder Woman, this Green Lantern. He's been involved.
So he's batting
in
50%. He's batting 500.
He used to work with Donner.
Yeah, he was
What
in
the
Hollywood.
fuck does that? I mean, like
Richard.
No,
Donner?
I know who Richard Donner is. I'm just saying, like,
Part of the Donner Party.
by did he? Oh, he didn't get hit. Didn't get hit with dysentery.
No, he made it.
Didn't have to ford the river.
No, he made it.
All my characters always die.
I hated hunting.
Anyway, I'm just saying that, like, just because he's in the same state as these people, I'm not sure. Does he actually have the movie making clout? I don't know, honestly.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. How's that been going? Oh yeah, 3 out of 5 A's. Yeah. So I guess really well.
Pretty good. I mean, but now he's in charge, and that's the thing we're talking about. Now it's. I wish I had the other guy's name in here because it's not just him.
Well, I may not believe in this movie crowd, whatever you call it.
It's kraut.
Crowd. But I believe in the storytelling, though.
Bryce just okay. That weird look, clout. Yes. Yeah. No. I very hopeful. Very hopeful.
Poker face. I wish I had a poker face.
So were you all right? So
fuck off.
Like, it was Deathstroke coming up, and I love you guys know that I love Deathstroke.
Yeah.
I am a big Deathstroke fan. Early Teen Titans. I'm like, that's
Always wanted to wear an eye patch. Yeah,
I always wanted to wear an eye patch. When it was not on Pirate Day, it was on Deathstroke Day. But seeing him come up, I'm like, I just saw him in he's a TV villain now.
What's so funny is, I
thought it was going to be him.
I watched the previous week's Arrow right prior to going to see Justice League, and I don't. Are any of you caught up on Arrow?
No.
Charlie,
I'm.
the Deathstroke episodes. Did you watch?
Yeah,
that
I
one?
watched the Deathstroke. I did not watch last week's yet.
Okay, I haven't seen the last week's either. The Deathstroke episode. Did you see the Deathstroke, Lane? Deathstroke has a fucking awesome fight at the end of that episode of Arrow, where he's like straight up killing fools and there's blood, and it's way gory for Arrow.
Killing fools, wow.
Way gory for Arrow. Normally, when in Arrow, like they hit him with an arrow and they fly, and that's it.
A-team style.
Like a sparking special
No,
effect.
Deathstroke is like stabbing people through the fucking heart, and it's coming out the other side, and there's blood, and he's really. It was an awesome fight
like
scene.
The Punisher.
It was pretty violent. They give us a few weeks for Punisher. It was. I mean, for Arrow, it was a really good fight scene, and I saw him like, Deathstroke again. Yes, more Deathstroke. We need more
I
Deathstroke.
actually thought it was funny that they casted an actor that looks like Manu Bennett.
Yeah,
and then he comes out looking actually more comical accurate.
Yeah.
There's a Joe Manganiello. He is perfect.
He's a good Deathstroke.
Oh,
You're talking about the movie one?
Yeah.
We don't fucking see his face. Who does it matter what the...
No, but the actor is perfect for Deathstroke.
What do you mean you don't see his face? He takes off his mask.
Yeah, you can see him very briefly, but yeah, he takes off his mask.
No, I must have blanked at that out from that. No, I honestly don't remember, but that's my
You were
bad.
too busy when I was like, did you hear me? Like, hitting my
I heard that. I heard that from 3 seats away.
Just so our listeners know,
I don't want it in my
that
eye.
was Bryce was trying to avoid the jism
because
Brian Higgins.
I thought
He was busy fapping, and I had to turn away.
I was so caught off guard by this. I was like, oh my god, what Deathstroke? Ah!
That's the movie one? Mm-hmm. I love that guy.
Yeah. Oh, it was
he took off
great.
his mask in the movie? Was Higgins actually fapping and I turned away?
Yeah.
He takes his mask off. He's wearing the eye patch.
Yeah, Magic Mike.
But he looks... Wait, what picture did you show him?
And I love that guy.
Did you show him how he looks like as Deathstroke or how he normally looks like?
Good radio.
Yeah.
Show him how he looked like in the movie, though.
Anyway, Justice League, it's an A. Let's move on. All right, thanks.
I have points I wanted to make.
Okay, give us your points, Toby.
Yeah, first of all...
Brian's ready to wrap this sucker
up.
Yeah.
We have to open in 35 minutes,
No,
okay?
Well, I never got my full review in the beginning. You guys kept interrupting, so I have like...
You got like 30 minutes? Go for it, Toby.
You were actually just really late, bro. Like
What?
You didn't, we didn't skip over you. You were just super late.
No, he just has an essay out right now. It's like a
I have
4-page paper
3 more
right
points to make.
Go for it.
Okay.
All right, you've got a lot of crowd. Let's hear what you said to say.
One I didn't like was that Batman bought the bank at the end. If you really cared about Superman's mom, because they made such a connection in
that
BVS.
was such bullshit.
That was super funny.
Why why
No,
wouldn't
that
he
was not
fucking
funny
just
at all.
pick
That-
up her tab the entire time?
I'm assuming he did.
Oh my fucking
Come on.
god! That is the biggest troll DC lover answer ever.
It is better for Batman to buy the bank and then give her the loan because then he can make all the profit from the bank. It's like, why wouldn't you just buy the bank?
So then why didn't he buy it earlier, Higgins? Like, why did she have to foreclose on her house?
He didn't know.
Oh, he didn't know. He's got this
the mom. He wouldn't look out for the mom when Superman dies?
We didn't even bring up the whole, like, slippery thing with the...
We're seeing in the movie. We're seeing in the movie. We're seeing in the movie. The thirsty scene. We're seeing in the movie. We're seeing in the movie.
That was a weird laugh.
Wait, what scene was that?
I don't know.
Scene with Ma Kent and Lois.
Oh.
And there's the weird lady on the screen talking about her husband being abducted by aliens.
Yeah.
Like, how would she even know that? And, like, that entire scene, Toby edited out of my movie when you give me my movie.
But think of what you could have done with those minutes.
Yeah, it was a real weird... Again, that's a Joss Whedon joke. It's a real weird...
because it's a bad one.
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah. I got two more.
And my other least favorite scene in the movie?
Let me guess. Also, Joss Whedon.
I don't know. Maybe. But when Superman's holding Batman when he's bad and he throws him, love that scene. When Batman's on the ground going like, I think I'm bleeding. Like, that was terrible.
That was fucking great.
That was one of my face palms.
Yeah, that was real bad.
I like that.
Batman does not make jokes.
Right.
But he didn't make a joke. That's the point. He was legitimate saying something is bleeding.
But it was
We just think it's funny.
I thought that was a dumb scene. Continue. Toby, continue.
Okay, I didn't like the backdrop of this movie as much because it didn't feel as much. It didn't feel real. Either they were underground, they were either in some faraway place, or the end was in some faraway place that got transformed, or they're in an apartment or in Batman's lair. So they were kind of away from people, except for the Superman scene.
Well, they have to make sure there are no civilians getting hurt when they're fighting.
Yeah, but even the Superman scene, when they start fighting, the civilians all disappear for some reason. So I don't know. I felt like a little unreal.
Learn their lesson.
Yeah, did you notice, Toby? There were literally two cops there, cops with their pistols aimed at Superman.
So I felt like, as for a backdrop, it felt a little unnatural, a little bit maybe. And my last point was,
I think that's a Snyder thing. That seems to be pretty common in a lot of his movies.
Toby, before you go, hey, did you guys love how fit the Amazonians were?
Hold on.
I have a problem. The first two Amazonians that they show talking, there are literally, and this is not like a sexist thing at all. Like, it actually bothered me. There were nipple like armor bumps.
I forgot. Leanne also wanted me to say that she was mad that they had makeup and were wearing like sexy clothes, where in Wonder Woman they had no makeup and they were just wearing like full on like battle armor.
The first two Amazons,
glamorous in this movie, or just
the first two Amazons that they show, I swear to God, have like nipple bumps in their armor,
bat nipples,
and it drives me fucking. It's like, why is that? Why do you need to have that, Zack Snyder?
That's one of the best scenes of the movie, though, when they're playing Keep Away with the Mother Box.
Okay, that scene was awesome. I'm just telling you that like the nipple armor was unnecessary.
And you can compare him getting that Mother Box to getting the Atlantis one. And I'm going to bet you that Paradise Island scene was shot after Wonder Woman came out.
Oh, probably.
Because think of how long that Paradise Island scene was and the challenge of getting that Mother Box. He goes to Atlantis, knocks those people out, and is gone in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, Toby, go ahead. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah, my last thing is I should have brought up when we talked about Batman. Did we talk about? I'm not sure anymore.
Yeah, we mentioned once or twice.
Well, I kind of wish. I mean, to me, it seemed like Batman had a death wish, and then the team kind of, took that away from him. And I kind of wish they maybe addressed that he had a team before, and this is his second team, and he recruited Wonder Woman to lead this team, and that he necessarily wasn't part of this plan. That he was going to go in.
What is this coming from?
Outsiders came first?
Maybe.
No, I see what he's saying. Like it does make sense that Batman. I mean, he was trying to commit suicide. He was trying to go out to save the team. He was sort of suicidal. He is Frank Miller Batman. He wanted to. He's got crow's feet sculpted into his armor. He knows that this is his last ride, and unsarcastically, he might have thought that I'm gonna take one for the team, and they took it away from him.
Charlie kind of brought it up. Yeah,
talk about the end scene with the Batmobile bringing all the parademons to open up the.
Yeah, okay.
Batman's plan there was, I'm gonna capture everybody's attention and go out in a blaze of glory, which will allow them to go stop Steppenwolf.
And he wasn't part of. I mean, he was literally going to go down. And Charlie brought it to me like he was going to create a legacy of the Justice League as the next generation of it. But I kind of thought that maybe we should address like his previous family of. I mean, they kind of showed it in BVS.
Yeah.
That should be the picture for this episode on the website.
Man with the big mustache.
It's a ginger mustache.
Did you read there was a test screening of Justice League where the effects weren't finished and Superman had the mustache in some scenes in the movie?
That'd be so weird.
Can you imagine seeing that? And in some scenes he
like
doesn't have it.
Fallon thing.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Yeah.
That damn fucking Kryptonian growth.
To an all ends, or not really. As corny as it's gonna sound, my heart really liked this movie. While when my head started thinking about it, I had some issues with it. But
God, get a room.
Fuck off. Come on, you want to join me?
Yes.
Right.
And that's what's so good about it
gross.
is that it's just fun. It's just so much fun. Something that I don't know. I feel some other movies I've seen recently haven't quite elicited the same response. So I had such a blast with this movie.
Wait, what the?
I love
are you
Thor.
are you talking about Thor?
No,
What the fuck? What are you talking
you
about?
said that. I didn't say that. I just said some other movies I've seen recently. No, Logan was
great.
awesome.
Yeah.
Logan wasn't fun, but it was awesome.
Anyway,
All right, can we start talking about Punisher now?
Would you say that there has been a DC Extended Universe chink in the armor?
Sure. I mean, all of them but Wonder Woman. I can separate my personal
Mind
opinion.
blown.
I can separate unlike some people, I can separate my personal opinion from right there.
I'm actually not sure that you can. Like,
I can separate my personal opinion from the realities of the situation around me. I love Zack Snyder. However, Zack Snyder should never work on one of these movies again.
Yeah, how have we not talked about your Rotten Tomatoes hate?
I'm fucking Rotten Tomatoes.
Fuck Rotten Tomatoes.
Thank you.
Seriously. Come on.
they did everything that they could to make your movie get better results, though.
Literally the exact opposite, but okay.
They created a much bigger narrative because of the
you
way...
just hate narratives. You've used that word like 4 times tonight.
Have you not
You've
paid
never
attention
used that word?
as I have used that word in the combination of fuck?
If he had used
How many times
conspiracy, it
tonight?
would have been too much conspiracy on this show.
We discovered because of Justice League that if a review does not have a score to it, and Rotten Tomatoes is approved to run that person's review on Rotten Tomatoes, that people of Rotten Tomatoes decide if it's thumbs up or thumbs down. So mixed reviews on Rotten Tomatoes are a thumbs up or thumbs down at the discretion of Rotten Tomatoes. They just happen to be all thumbs down for Justice League and all thumbs up for Thor Ragnarok. Funny that.
I don't even understand how you're being like a
Funny that.
13-year-old boy. Like, it's literally owned by Warner Brothers. What the fuck? Like, what is
just because it's partially owned by
I'm sorry,
Warner
I forgot
Brothers.
it was a conspiracy.
Just because it's partially owned by Warner Brothers doesn't mean people inside of Rotten Tomatoes that they hate on for DC
People inside Rotten Tomato
aren't sabotaging the Rotten Tomato score.
Okay, wow.
I'm just saying.
So, Punisher.
Yeah, no, we can talk
And that's
about
it.
later.
And that's it.
The Punisher is so good.
And we'll talk about that in a couple weeks after I've seen it. Or,
Nah, you'll never see it.
Toby, Runaways is on tonight. You started watching Runaways?
Is it? Really?
First episode's tonight, I
All
believe.
right.
Yeah.
Do we have
know
any
what I'm
idea?
doing
If it, like, I just saw the poster on our Facebook group like yesterday. Do we
Runaways?
know? Runaways? Are we excited for this? I didn't
Yes.
even hear about it.
I've been
Is
excited
it
since
is
they
it like
announced it.
canon Runaways?
Yeah, a very canon. The fucking dinosaur is in the trailer.
It's on
the fuck out.
Hulu.
I have Hulu.
The dinosaur is in the trailer.
That's spoiler level 1. That's
in
awesome.
the trailer, dinosaur.
No, that's awesome.
The only other spoiler I give you is the young girl is a little older than I like her to be. But that sounded way wrong right now.
Yeah,
sorry.
It definitely did.
That sounded really
Without any alcohol.
That sounded really
With
wrong.
alcohol,
But
that
I
sounds
actually
really
mean
wrong,
it
too,
in
but-
a
Watch out, Rowan.
I want to put this the right way.
Somebody take the shovel away from him now.
No. They made her older, and I'm against it. They should have kept her young.
Okay. I see what's happening here.
No, I'm serious.
Toby should run for Senate. I just call him Tony.
Tony should run for Senate. Can we talk about how good Christopher Priest's Inhumans book has been?
So, thank you all very much for listening to this podcast. Much longer than the movie, although this tends to be how we do these things here at the Comic Conspiracy. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. We got a lot more to talk about in the next couple weeks. Definitely talk about the Punisher, Runaways,
Doomsday Clock,
comic books. Doomsday Clock.
We're reopening the store in 27.
Yes.
Does it mean we're still getting food and coffee and all
Someone
that
could go get me some coffee while I get the comics ready. Yeah. I have to save all this shit and put the shit away. Let's thank our good friends at Patreon. Julian Titus has the Nerds Without Pants podcast at pixelbit.com. Oh, Scott stole it.
Oh, no, he didn't steal it. This is our secret. Hey, man, how's it going?
No
Scott
pants.
knows. Bryce knew about it. My Hey No Pants is actually a what's up to Scott. The truth just came out.
Toby, stop. Young women and pants off talking to some other dude.
Ryan Hess has Blowhards. It's a video game podcast at blowhards.libsyn.com. Jody Larsen is canon the Triad Comics Anthology at triadcomicstudio.com. Go pick up some, check out their comics they have there. As well as our good friends at Manoa Place, Sam Chea, Talon Bray, Craig Anderson, Joe Duff. Thank you guys all very much. The comicspiracypodcast.com is where you can find all our previous episodes, as well as geekbox.net and iTunes. Rate and review us, it always helps. Everyone's been telling us their opinions on Justice League, but if you got a real long form question you don't want to submit to Facebook, send us an email.
That Ryan will never read. Okay.
Send us an email at thecomicspiracy@geekbox.net or the contact form. Or 280 characters on Twitter. I'm using that. Patreon.com/comicconspiracy. Again, kick us a couple bucks if you like this episode and all our previous ones. Or if you hate this episode, you could still give us money. Digital.comicsconspiracy.biz. There is a humongous DC digital trade paperback sale going on right now.
I actually bought stuff this time.
Thousands of graphic novels. Some ridiculous sale.
So, for me, I bought 5 things. I got both Vision trades for $3 each. I got Snyder's Complete Swamp Thing for $5. I got Multiversity Complete for $5. And I can't remember what the other thing I got.
You don't want to talk about Christopher Priest Inhumans Run, but you're going to listen to Brock's list of what he bought?
I am totally down to talk about Christopher Priest because I love that guy, but I haven't read Inhumans yet. But
let's hear what Brock bought.
Insane.
But the thing is normal price is about $100. It was $20.
Yeah.
It's an insane deal on Comixology.
Digital.
I was wrong.
Digital.comicsconspiracy.biz. That's where you can go to find those. Check out conspiratobrock.com. That's Brock's blog and video pull list. Wonders of the Fourth Dimension, Charlie's Doctor Who podcast, and Etsy.com/shop/Leanne Hillart. That is my wife Leanne's Etsy store. You can buy some prints from her on there and some commissions. We're on Twitter. I'm Ryan Higgins Ryan. Brock is Brock Sager. Bryce is Larsen Bryce.
There's got to be some sort of insult version of a Freudian slip.
Toby is Toby XI. Charlie's Insanity and Chaos. The store is Comics Con store. Kevin Sharp is that Kevin Sharp?
Yep.
And you're not on Twitter.
I am, but
you don't
I
use
don't
it.
remember.
He wants to be in secret.
But if
he's
anybody
the Batman.
has a showcase number 4 they were looking to offload,
I got some in the background.
just let Ryan know. I'm looking for one.
I just moved an entire box of them.
Check out if you want to hear us talk about the Justice League for another hour, check out the Geek Box last night where me and Ryan Scott talk about it. Funny enough, I've ruined my own joke.
Yeah, it wasn't funny the first time.
One Ryan liked it, one Ryan loved it. Which one? I bet you know. Comedy Button, Good Job Ryan, I'll Talk Podcast, and Manga Machinations. Bryce, did you slap your head more then or when I laughed at Flash's jokes in Justice League?
I mean, they were both awful.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll find out more next week.